See, I'm ready right now.
He's ready.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Hey, this is another episode of UFO Garage.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Joe, and this is where we talk about UFOs, aliens, and all things weird.
Things weird. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What's up, dude?
Gives you the feels.
How's everybody doing on a Thursday night?
I think they're doing good.
It's a loud applause in my head.
I can hear it. I can hear your applause in your head, like right here where I'm sitting.
It's loud. It's
super
really loud.
I think that's a thing.
Yeah, dude. You can hear my thoughts. Maybe one day you'll be able to, with the right technology.
The right technology. That is a very good possibility. That is a good possibility.
I mean, that's kind of the purpose of it's a subject that our guest tonight. We could maybe ask him what he thinks about that. Like, if there's going to be one day like this technology that you can hear other people's thoughts. I mean, Neuralink maybe one of those things. So it might already exist, but like, yeah, I'd love to hear what he thinks about that.
Well, let's get into it because now I'm curious and I have to know.
Okay, sweet. Let's bring on Dr. Dave Heitmann. What's up, man?
Woo! That is the best intro ever.
We're professionals.
What do you think about this?
Just roll straight into it, dude.
Right into it. Yes.
Yep.
Perfect.
How you doing tonight, man? Doing good?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, and I didn't pop on until this last second, but I swear to God, you guys were talking about something about hearing each other's brains, and for some reason, I just felt like I had to click on to the show.
Well, you came to the right place.
You came to the right place.
I think
bro.
maybe he has something in his head that he can hear our thoughts.
Oh my God.
Well, when I was hanging out with Ben the other day, I transplanted a little bug into his ear, and it crawled into his brain. So
I knew I had an itch I couldn't scratch.
that's right. Yeah.
I just can't get to that dang thing, man.
So, Dave, man, we don't really do like, bios and stuff here. We just kind of let our guests explain to the listening audience a little bit about themselves and just a little introduction so we can all get to know you a little bit. And then we'll move on from there, man.
Let's skip on that for a second because I love the brain talk. It just, this is one of those things we're just going to roll into things. So, to me, the brain technology aspect is going to get there at some point. We don't know how, but lots of people are actually working on it. And there's a lot of exciting, I'm sure we'll get into this a lot, energetics of frequencies of the way that our brains work. There's this next generation of science that's going to start happening that's going to be measuring things that we can't measure right now. And I think that's when it's actually going to start to happen. It'll literally be that at first it'll be the fuzzy, 8-bit aspect of it, then it'll turn into a 16-bit aspect, then it'll turn into a 32-bit aspect and be the Jaguar and never make it anywhere, and then we'll hop into the 64-bit, and then we'll start understanding each other without having to speak.
Yeah, dude. So I kind of want to step back with the whole word biotechnology. Like we were talking before the show, when I went to research this and we were talking about brains, like I think we just skipped a whole bunch of stuff, and I feel like it would be worth it to explain. I would have loved to know this, and I'd love to hear your opinion or what you know about the history of biotechnology. I mean, the little that I found out is that it actually started in the 70s, and in simple terms, anything that humans alters our body or the way that our chemical makeup synthetically, not in a natural way, but that is considered a technology. So I thought that was kind of cool. Maybe
interesting. Well, that would sound logical coming from a 70s thought where maybe some biology got married to technology and just kidding.
It was the 70s, man.
It was the 70s. Well, I think to answer this question, this is where I'll hop in and say who I am. Is I've been obsessed with this type of information for 30 years. I started in 4th grade basically skipping school, and I started my own gym by the 6th grade to have all of the students around the area come and work out with me. And this is just one of those things that has been a passion that has one thing after another. And it started off with enzymes and amino acids and how do I improve sports performance. Then that started my path down supplements. Then that started my path down how can we do cell biology, and it translated into biochemistry and molecular biology for me as a major, a double major. I did biomechanics research. I've been published. I've done a lot of research. And then I went to be a chiropractor, specialized in sports medicine, got a whole bunch of other degrees on top of that, master's degree, and about 30 some other different certifications along with that. I owned my own sports medicine practice. And at the cornerstone of it has always been about these deep aspects of like physics, biology, technology, how we interact with things. So it's a never-ending loop in my head of obsession of reading research, obsession of consuming content, and then how do I translate that into inspiring humans essentially to take better action for their health, because that is ultimately the end result of knowing this knowledge, is we're supposed to do something with the darn thing. So it's a beautiful transition that I've been able to help over 10,000 patients in my career already. I've been on the board of hospitals. I've been on the board of corporations. I've been medical director of national championship teams, Olympic athletes, all of that aspect. I've coached digital health entrepreneurs. I've been on the backside of a lot of digital health companies. I'm personally developing an AI system right now. And so all of that to say is that biotechnology is a just massive word that originated from the blending of biology and technology. There really is no, at that time, there is no like deeper meaning than that. And it wasn't until you start getting the fractions of cybernetics, how are we integrating now the actual technology into humans versus biotechnology in general. Like if you go to search on Google, what you're going to find is pharmaceutical stuff like we were kind of talking about before, where it's, this, DNA replicase, PCR machine, that's biotechnology to the world. Yeah. And so now there's a lot of different fractions that are actually, the biotechnology word has almost become meaningless.
So is there a new term that people are using for?
Yeah, so I mean, it goes down into the individual fractions. We're now at that point, if you want to imagine, everyone is educated now. We all have Google. And so there's epigenetics, there's high performance, there's longevity, there's, you can break it down into cybernetic organisms. It's one category after another now. For me, I'm in the digital health space. I'm in the empowerment behavior change app space. And there's a couple of different qualifications around that. I can't just say I'm a wellness app, because that's like several million apps are out there that are all just Web 2.0, and I'm building something that's a Web 3.0 kind of thing.
Right.
And so we have to, as we evolve as humans, we have to keep classifying deeper and deeper so that people understand what we're actually talking about.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So one thing that I learned in this crash course video that I was telling you guys about was that there was a study done in like 1974 where they were trying to figure out this term biotechnology and RNA, rDNA or something like that. And they were able to create, the scientists or a group of scientists were able to create DNA with non-living matter. So there was this whole like explosion of thought that split from the Darwinistic view of life into this primordial soup kind of form of thinking. And let me know if I'm getting anything wrong there, but
there's never anything wrong when we talk about this.
maybe it wasn't DNA, but it was like structures, like molecules. They were able to make something with non-living
proteins.
Proteins. Yes. Yeah. And they were able to like stitch them together.
Yeah.
So my question is
it's essentially how we started synthetically creating insulin and different things of that nature that start. Yep.
Insulin. Yeah. That was one of them because like before synthetic insulin, we used to have to get it from pigs and like cows and stuff. Right.
Yep. You had to kill a lot of animals back in the days and like milk them and do all sorts of crazy stuff. Yeah. Thankfully, science has evolved quite a bit and very rapidly towards that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you hear all these like horror stories and like they weren't that long ago compared to like now,
in our lifetimes. I mean, there's it wasn't until maybe 10-15 years ago that they stopped taking animals apart just ambiguously, right? Like it's just and there's still countries that do definitely. There's still countries that the ethical borders and this is always like I've had lots of discussions, lots of education around this. This is part of the core curriculum when you go through biochemistry is even back in the late 1990s and early 2000s, which is when I was going to college, I was already genetically manipulating bacteria and I was making them glow in the dark. And, you could transfer that into animals. And at that time, there wasn't the backyard kits that there are now. Now people are turning dogs to glow in the dark and all sorts of crazy stuff. But this was a very serious conversation back then, because this was when the Human Genome Project started and everyone freaked out of like, oh my God, in 10 years, we're going to have genetic babies that are just like super babies. And what are we going to do with them? And so there was a lot of ethical, debate and conversation going on when I was actually back in school back then.
Yeah. There was also this story about this woman who unknowingly, she had like a biopsy done and they used this cancer cell to create this whole lineage of cells. Like for some reason, it just kept growing and kept growing.
Well, that's actually the beauty of cancer cells is that we can study them. It's the original one was from like 1920 and it's been like there's actually laws around that you can only use certain cancer cell lines and things of that nature that because they keep replicating, it's like a never-ending petri dish if you want to think of it that way.
And it's so sorry if I'm like throwing like random stuff at you. I'm just like going through these.
No, this is fun. This is like, so normally when I do podcasts, it's very businessy and yes, of course I get my health and wellness stuff in there and I enjoy that and that's what I'm passionate about. But like, I'm excited to be drinking whiskey with you guys and talking.
Cheers, bro.
Like this is totally, cheers.
Yeah, everybody in the chat, cheers, y'all. Party hard. Party hard.
Participate. This is one of those things where this is like a whole lifetime of career that you just get to sit and chat with cool people. Like this is what I love doing at night, sitting by a campfire and staring up at the stars, right? Like this is what I really, really am passionate about.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, I love it.
Awesome. But so like to finish that whole thought, man, that it's crazy that the advancements in certain treatments are practiced upon these cancer cells that have been, like you said, since the 20s, right?
Yep.
So it's like this living organism that we've kept alive synthetically, like in a tube somewhere in a petri dish, and we're like testing drugs and stuff on this gloop of glob or whatever.
Gloop
glob. I just think it's insane, bro.
Where do you think Rick and Morty got their name from? Gloop glob, gloop glob.
Yes, dude. Yes.
But here's the fun thing too, right? Is that's what makes our beer so wonderful. Not the stem cells, but yeast, right? We have these yeast lines that have been passed down for generation after generation because we know that they produce a certain flavor of beer that we like.
Yes.
I did not know that. What?
Yeah. So yeast is a never ending thing as well. So especially way back in the early days, way before refrigeration, instead of carrying around, like you would carry your beef jerky and your preserved meats, but you would be carrying your sourdough starter with you. That is a constant living thing that would be passed down from generation to generation. And that's how you kept making breads. That's how you kept making beer. Back then, they didn't drink a lot of water because it was actually really dangerous to drink a lot of water. Mm-hmm. So they made mead and beer out of everything, right?
Right. I knew that part.
Yeah, and that's from generational yeast. And yep.
So it's like heirloom bacteria because like yeast is a bacteria, right?
You can feel really good drinking that craft beer, saying that you're going to the heritage, organic, recycling nature, something or other, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Man, what is BIM Jim saying? Subsurface lithium trophic ecosystem.
Ooh, that's cool.
That's a word I've never heard or seen
Yeah.
before.
Okay. So I haven't seen that, but subsurface lithoautotrophic. So autotrophic ecosystems. It just sounds like something that should be living underneath our skin. Autotrophic.
Oh.
That sounds like the name of an alien race that's living underneath the planet.
Maybe there's actually that possibility as well.
Yeah, I think so too, man.
So can this technology, I mean, you can, we're obviously talking about humans, but I mean, we can implement it into, I mean, plants, animals, all kinds of stuff, right?
Which technology? I think we covered about 30 of them. Are we
Well,
talking subtropic, lympho, autophagy?
I'm just talking about like the idea of like how we I guess we were talking about biotechnology as kind of an umbrella term, but it's broken down into many different little things. And the stuff that we covered was mainly about human health. So we can take it even further, and we can, use this stuff in plants and animals and, and other things as well.
It's the integration of understanding at the core what biology is, what makes something living, plants and animals and nature, anything in nature that you can describe as biology. And then the technology that is applied to it or integrated into it or causing an effect back and forth. And that's why it's such a broad topic when people say, ooh, the biotechnology sector, right? They're literally talking about all of humankind right now, because we can almost make an argument that cell phones are biotechnology because they're always in our hands now.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a cool thought. We were talking about like turning dogs green and things like that. And like I saw a little sticker. It's like a tattoo that you can put on, and like it keeps track of your body and the sun. So like if you're sensitive to sun, people will wear them because it'll track when your skin needs to go inside or in the shade and get out of the sun. And it's like, well, you could probably, like, I guess technically, right, put some sort of technology to like a plant like in your window, and it turns a certain color on a really strong UV day or something, and it lets you know before you even go outside, hey, it's safe to go outside today.
So that's what AI is already doing for this. This is the next generation of agriculture that we have to hit. And because we have these destructive forces, we all recognize it now. We all understand it, that agriculture is probably the most destructive force. It's not actual humans. It's the humans doing agriculture that is the biggest problem. And this next generation of agriculture is being solved by things like AI that are going to be able to measure the pesticide level, the pest level, the sun level, the rainwater level. We already have autonomous drones that can fly around the field to know when things start to change and shift. So they're doing computer vision and recognition of when the corn is ready, right? Like some basic stuff like that. So we're getting much higher yields per acre and lots of cool biotechnology that's coming our way.
Yeah. Tell me if you've ever heard of this. I can't remember where I heard it. It could be complete bullshit, but tell me if you ever heard of this. They were talking about like being able to, instead of put up a cell phone tower, right? You would be able to eventually one day plant a tree that would be able to emit those frequencies or whatever to run cell phones off of.
I have no doubt of that. I mean, I haven't heard of that specifically, but immediately my mind goes is that our skin, we have a polarity to us. We just haven't figured out how to harness it yet. So we actually did all this research all the way back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, where we have a strong magnetism to us. Our DNA has a polarity. When we actually get a cut, that changes the polarity of our skin at that site. When we break a bone, we actually change the polarity of our bone. And so one of the things at hospitals right now is you can go get a stimulator, a bone stimulator, and it's a big ass magnet that changes the polarity back and helps heal your bone faster.
Whoa.
Right? So like we have these things as basic fundamentals, but because what you just said sounds fucking crazy, is that like the scientific community won't accept that as a possibility to even start trying, because they forget the fundamentals of science, and we get caught up in our own stories according kind of in like 10 to 20 year segments of what the current thought if you imagine back in the old film days of when we were thinking National Geographic and people were talking about the different worlds that we were going to conquer and the different areas, and everyone would always think that one person is crazy. Right? This has been the one thing consistent about human evolution, is that the masses are resistant to change, and it's going to take one or two people that understand past research and they start to put it together in a visionary standpoint for the future. And so that's where something like a cell phone tree will come out. That's where, if there was just a new release, Michigan just approved magnetic discs in the roads. They're doing a 1 mile strip in Michigan that will automatically recharge your electric car as you're driving. So you're just driving over these series of magnetic little discs, and it charges your car. Right. So we're
cool.
about to go wireless on everything. Electricity is being passed through everything. That was a Tesla patent that finally, released after, what was it, 3-4 years ago. And so now we can finally actually start making wireless electric things.
That is awesome. Really? So full circle back to Wardenclyffe, right? Like that was the whole idea behind Tesla's Wardenclyffe, was to be able to broadcast wireless electricity. Like, do we know, like, so with this patent, this is news to me. I wonder why it took so long.
Because patents last 100 years. Something of that nature. It's somewhere around there that if no one refiles, which obviously, it's long gone. I think that the patent ends up dissolving, and then it becomes free information to people. I'm not positive on why it was released, but I think that was the explanation.
It's going to be really funny because, like, we ended up not going with Tesla in the beginning, and now we're going to switch over to that. And there's going to be people who don't even know the story, and they're going to be like, man, that was so stupid. By the way,
I'm
Why
talking
do we
Tesla
ever do
the
that?
person,
Yeah,
not Tesla the cars, just to make sure that people don't get confused.
Yeah. They're gonna be like, this is so much better. Why did we ever use that other stuff? Yeah, we were dumb. And it's like, we were dumb. We could have just been using this the whole time.
Yep.
But no, we got wires everywhere.
But it's the same as when we went to Wi-Fi. Right now, we don't even think twice about how Wi-Fi happened. But when it happened, it was like, are you serious? Like, how is that? How does that working? Right? Imagine the first radio waves in a car that you could pick up a song for the first time. How weird would that have been?
I literally remember where I was at the moment I found out you could send a message with your phone. Like, like I remember I was sitting in the back seat and I was like, man, I wish I could just, just say something to deal with that, having to call him. And then my mom was like, well, just send a message. And I was like, what? She was like, yeah, go to the message button. I was like, what? She was like, yeah, you can send messages on this phone.
It is literally
your mom had to tell you.
Yeah, I remember, dude. I was like, I don't know. I was like maybe 10 something. I don't know. Back then, though, we didn't care. We didn't need no cell phones, man.
No, I had a bike with pegs on the back, dude. That's how I communicated, man.
Cell phone was a hassle. And when my parents gave me one, I was like, oh, do I have to hold on to this all day? You expect me to be responsible? You don't expect me to be responsible for anything. You're about to give me a phone?
I was thankful that I was in college when cell phones came out. So my communication with my parents was 3 whistles in the neighborhood, because they would have no idea where I was. And we lived next to a mountain, so I'd be like up in the mountain building forts and all sorts of silly stuff with all my neighborhood friends. And it would be 3 loud whistles, and that's when we all knew we had to go home for dinner.
That's awesome.
So you basically lived the childhood of Flight of the Navigator, or no, not that one. What's the film where the kids build their own UFO? Explorers, dude.
Yeah.
I could see you doing that. Young Dave, Dr. Dave. Have you seen that movie, The Explorers? Where they
no, I haven't.
It's pretty dope. You should check it out.
It sounds like my childhood. Yeah, I was very into the woods. I was very into sports. I was outside all the time, but then I would come home and I'd play video games all night. So Dungeons and Dragons I was always a dungeon master. I was just huge into that. Dungeons and Dragons had come out all the way back in the 70s. But in the 90s, early 90s, it was still, you could get a board game, and my parents got me one for my birthday one year as just a pre-made board set, and it started this whole love and obsession, and would buy all the books and the trading cards and all that stuff.
Yeah,
awesome.
dude, I have never played Dungeons and Dragons, and I was talking to my wife, I think maybe probably over a year ago. I was like, "Hey, we should play Dungeons and Dragons just because I want to know what it's all about. I always hear about it, but I've never played
Yep.
it."
Big
And,
Willie plays it, dude.
we haven't played it yet, but I want to give it a shot. I want to see what it's all about. I got to see if it lives up to the hype. I think it's going to.
Dude, I want to play so bad. Big Willie has a thing, dude. We should start like an online thing. I wonder if there's any online.
There's
UFO
hundreds
Garage?
of them, hundreds of online things that you can do now. And there's like basically every type of brain type there is. You can find the Dungeons and Dragons that works for your brain style. Like there's some that the visuals will be popping up on the screen more for you. There's some that it's just like this, and then I would just sit here and narrate. You're walking down the hallway, and 20 feet in front of you it looks really dark. You think you see some cobwebs in the corner over there, and you think that there's a left-hand turn up there, but you can't quite see. So Joe, you're the mage, and Ben, you're the paladin fighter. What are you guys going to do? And then you guys talk amongst yourself of like, how do you want to move forward and what special things you have. So Joe, you might have a magical stick that illuminates things. So you say, I'm going to illuminate the hallway, and you use 2 of your magic points, and then you roll a die, and that die will tell you how bright it gets. It tells me how bright it gets, and then I make up a story of what you see based off of that dice roll.
Dude, we would kill it at that game.
100%. Like this whole show is like,
I would be like, I'm going home. I'm scared. This is scary. I'm going home.
I'm transporting back to the real world.
Yeah. Roll a 3. Joe goes home.
yeah.
Damn it. I rolled a 4.
And then like at that point,
Now
you
I gotta go fight. I gotta go light some shit up with this stick.
But you have to go home after that. Like you can't play anymore.
But then I'm going home after I light this up. You can't make me.
Light this
Game
up.
ends for Joe.
Light up blunt.
Dude, yes. Oh man. Yeah, I want to play it. It sounds like fun. Because the whole making up stories part, that sounds like the best part.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying, like, you can find your tribe of people that is going to resonate with you, because they have it all the way up to almost like, if you remember, playing Final Fantasy type style of games,
Yeah,
right? Where everything's done for you and you're just kind of exploring and slashing through. So it's every different level that you can play.
Isn't there a Key and Peele skit where they're playing Dungeons and Dragons? That is so funny.
Oh my god,
it's so funny.
And there's the dude that like it shouldn't be there. He's like way out of
yeah.
But he like crushes it. Like he does so well, but he's like super calm, cool, collected.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
Dude, so I had a question for you, Dave. Dude, we're kind of bringing it back to the biotech, like the beginnings and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like just kind of building the basics. Like I'm terrible at math because I missed a lot of those basic things, right? I think a lot of us can relate to that. Like I think we skip over a lot of those things we should understand. So my question is, when we're talking about editing genes or editing any kind of biologic material, what, like everybody just says, oh, CRISPR. Oh yeah, we just do that. And we just fucking plug in the numbers. Like,
it's just like talking about some sort of weekend event, right? Oh, this just happens, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So like what is that process?
Yeah, like, so essentially we're using enzymes to our advantage, and enzymes are specific in our body. Enzymes are made up of proteins, and these proteins are folded in a specific way that they cause an action in our body. And so what we figured out is when our DNA normally goes to replicate itself, so in other words, when my skin cell starts to divide, separate out, and make another skin cell so that I can heal my wound, over the course of 30, 40 years of research, we've been able to slowly learn more and more about which protein that is, which sets do what, and we've been able to extract those and then start to actually utilize them. So we take those tools out of our toolkit and then we put them into a test tube. And then, so when I add my DNA to that, those things don't know anything but to do their thing, right? It's not like they have brains. They just constantly like, oh, these amino acids, we latch on here and I'm going to replicate here. And so they replicate the DNA. And so that's what CRISPR actually is. CRISPR, we've now gotten it to the point where there's specific sequences. If you want to imagine the alphabet, there's a specific alphabet on our DNA. CRISPR is a type of enzyme that recognizes a certain word language. It latches onto this one spot and will start to snip it and make a new copy.
See, the snippet making new copy is like I
literally imagine a construction worker. Like if I've got here, let me well, this is good enough. I've got my DNA here. There's 2 molecules here, right? Or 2 molecules here and here.
Yeah.
I'm an enzyme. My job is to recognize these 2 things, and then a thing sticks out. And because of just amino acid, this gets into energy of recognition of different molecules. The job of these molecules is to snip this here. This breaks and separates apart. That enzyme then unfolds. And then other enzymes will come on and it'll start a whole cascade of replication.
Whoa.
Dude.
It's really cool when you think of it in 3D. This is where virtual reality will really come into play of understanding this stuff.
Damn. So somebody made that enzyme do that, or that's something that's naturally occurring, right?
Yeah. So what we're at the point now where we can start to modify those types of enzymes to do their job better, because we can start to add in other enzymes and we start to learn how they interact with each other and things of that. That's cool. Processing part of it.
Yeah.
So like what I'm picturing in my head is the like basic chemistry that I remember is like bilipid layers, and like maybe one of those bilipid layers doesn't allow that acid, the amino acid, to cut through, or some do. So it either says don't cut or cut.
Exactly.
That's what I'm visualizing in my head.
Yeah. So
dude, that sounds
the
smart.
biphospholipid layer, yes. A phospholipid, if you want to imagine a balloon with 2 legs. Right, and then the balloons all stick together, and then it creates this little flappy thing. Some of them create balls, and we call them cholesterol. Some of them are lined up nice and neat, and that's what we call a cell wall.
Dude, I'm trying to look for this GIF of. Have you seen how DNA is like replicated? There's like this looping GIF where like it shows DNA replicating, and it kind of just looks like this like thing.
I probably haven't seen the one that you're talking about. I obviously know how DNA replicates it, the 3D the actual 3D aspect of it, but I probably have not seen the GIF of what you're talking about. But you definitely have to bring it up. I'm a huge, like, back before we could send all these amazing like memes and things like that. Old chemistry jokes and things are like what we grew up in college. So it was, like, what's a pirate's favorite element? Argon, right? Like, you get all sorts of corny chemistry jokes that we can do. That's what before there was memes, we had really shitty dad jokes.
I love it, man. Damn. If anybody in the chat knows what I'm talking about, I mean, yeah, send me a link, because you guys got to see it. It's so funny. But yeah, the CRISPR stuff, man, and just being able to manipulate matter and life itself, like, that just blows my mind. And like, I've never really understood how you edit this thing, but it sounds pretty simple in principle. Like, but we're just looking at like a petri dish. So like, is this correct? Like, you can't just edit someone's genome by like giving them a shot of something. Like, it has to start.
We now can.
Well, you can.
And so, so now there's gene therapies that I'm actually consulting with a foundation around here, that there's all sorts of genetic diseases that we have. And some of them are considered currently untreatable, but with the new gene therapies happening is, are you familiar with how a virus works? A virus is like an alien UFO. It's a big ball with these legs, and its job is it goes and attaches to the cell with those legs, and then it drills in and inserts the DNA into the cell.
I'm remembering like some very traumatic
videos of coronavirus.
videos
Yeah.
of
Thank
that.
you to the pandemic for everyone thinking that they understand viruses now. Yes.
They also look like the aliens from The Arrival. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
There's all sorts of so there's all shapes and sizes, but yeah, the main thing is there's like these pteropods that come down and attach to the moon surface, right? And they crouch down, and then it's a big injection of their DNA.
Dude, that's so awesome.
Yes, I
Yep.
love it.
So, but anyways, where we're going with that was that we can manipulate the DNA that's in that virus, and then that virus goes around, and the cells that are affected by the genetic problem that person is having, there's certain what's called receptor sites that those legs know which moon they're landing on. And so we can create a virus specific for eyeballs, and we can start to reverse genetic diseases in eyeballs so that people can start to see again. And all of the studies started like about 2 years ago. I mean, they've been studying it for a long time, but success started about 2 years ago with reversing eyes, and there's all sorts of promising stuff with it.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I feel like viruses probably get a bad rap, you know?
Yeah, and viruses might be one of the treatments of the future.
Dude. Yeah. How crazy. You're like, oh, you know, Dave couldn't see yesterday, and today Dave can see. He's got a virus.
He's got a virus.
So this actually goes, you know, if we're talking classifications in biotechnology, we can no longer say the word medicine because that's too broad. This is biologics. So when we say the word biologics, we're talking stem cells, regenerative medicine, virology, genetic manipulation. Yeah.
Dude, that's so cool.
That is so cool. It's making me think like you said, Joe, viruses just get such a bad rap. Virus itself is a technology that's just been kind of floating and kind of fucking us up every fall or winter. Like,
well, and the fucking up actually comes from perspective. So most bad things through human history have allowed us to evolve to the next level.
Oh, dude. Okay. Love that.
Like malaria. So we tend to think of sickle cell as a problem, but in Africa, people weren't affected by malaria. So what ends up happening is you have a whole patient population or person population, whatever you want to call it, start surviving because they had this genetic mutation that didn't allow a virus to actually infiltrate in, or a mosquito virus, or anything of that nature, something that causes a disease. So we can look through history, and generally what we consider as bad tends to end up working out for the betterment of something in some way, shape, or form.
I like that, dude.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like
we've had to survive somehow.
Yeah. things aren't always pretty, but somehow we always seem to squeak out, you know?
Yep.
I mean, we've been here for a very small amount of time in the grand scheme of things, but hey, I feel like we're doing all right so far, you know? It could be a lot worse.
It could be a lot worse. We could be pooping in the streets still, man.
We were literally shitting in holes like 80 years ago.
Literally 80 years ago, bro.
Which might be better for a majority of the population if we actually composted it and actually use the four, going to permaculture practices, right?
Yep.
So bacteria is not something to be afraid of. Bacteria is something to be utilized.
Yeah.
And we can use it to a massive advantage in our whole ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely can. It's like it's magic. It's almost like brown gold, you know?
Yep.
You can heat your house with it, you can, fertilize everything with it, but you got to know how to do it. That's the tricky part, you know? Yep.
And it's not complicated. It's it's pretty simple and basic, and the bigger problem comes in with politics of they don't allow you to do 4 systems in your house to recycle the water. They still have codes that you still have to in most municipalities, like even if you were to try to go off grid, you still have to connect in to their electrical grid by law. Mm-hmm. Like you can't become unreliant and unhooked from the system.
Yeah, you have to tie in with it.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't like that idea, but I mean, I guess if you're creating enough energy that you kind of get like a little check every now and then. I guess that's nice that they can pay you, right?
Yep.
But the idea that you're forced to be connected to the grid somehow sucks, you know?
Yeah, it's an interesting, very theoretical conversations of
what should we be doing?
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing with just like, the way people are building homes now, like earth homes and using recycled materials and things like that. Like there's no codes for that, right? They have no way to, is that up to code? Well, I don't know. Do you consider tires filled with dirt code? I don't
Yep.
know. What do you think?
Is that a Michelin or is that a
yeah, exactly. I mean,
They just go around kicking your house like.
yeah, they don't know what to do. And so
Yep.
they say you can't do that, but then you come back with, well, you didn't say I can't not do that, and then you get into this big whole thing. They suck your life and your money away, and then you don't get to build a cool little earth home, and instead you end up being homeless in a
This
box
sounds
on the
like
side
it's
of the
personal
road.
experience.
I got really close to it one time, and it was just like, all right, you know what? This is gonna be such a hassle to even start. I don't have the time, resources, or anything to even accomplish this. So you really do have to go somewhere in the middle of Montana or find a place in Arizona that is just hundreds of miles away from everything and do it. If somebody finds you, all right, whatever.
My wife and I traveled the country. Well, my family and I traveled the country for a year in a school bus that we converted into our tiny home.
That is
and
awesome.
It was with the intent of actually researching farming practices, permaculture, earth ships, all of the different aspects of, because for ourselves, we wanted to find our balance point. We had gotten to the point where we were burnt out in our sports medicine clinic, and we had all these things, and so we elected to get rid of all of the things down to a pile of clothes and some kitchen stuff, and threw it in the bus and started farming. And it was an eye-opener of how do we find that balance? How do we find the practices that are going to work for us? And for us, we have just about a 2-acre little hobby farm that we're turning into a food forest. And we're trying to do as many of those practices as possible. We're, composting on a major scale, and just trying to reduce and reuse as much as possible, and build an ecosystem here where we can just walk outside in nature and pluck food from our surrounding.
Yeah, I love it, man. Because I work in the landscaping industry, and it's a whole different beast. You can implement a lot of the knowledge that you learn from permaculture and stuff in it, but it's like the complete opposite. Like it blows people's minds. Like when you cut something and they're like, "What should I do with this?" And I'm like, "Leave it there."
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
What?
Nature takes care of this thing.
Like for me, it blows my mind when it's fall. There's leaves all in your garden bed, and people are like, "Hey, can you blow all that out?" And you're like, "Why don't you just leave it? It's gonna be awesome.
Save the plants from the frost." Like,
it's insulation. You don't have to do anything. It's gonna decompose into amazing soil. I don't have to come and fertilize, which is full of salts. You're gonna, it's just nature has been doing it way before we were even here. Just look at it. Look at what it's doing. Replicate, imitate. Listen.
It's called the Trifecta. For a long time, we actually, especially over in Europe, we instead of doing single row monoculture agriculture, we did a trifecta, which is you have 12 ground plants, you have 6 bushes, and then 1 tree, and they all feed themselves, so they're all synergistic with each other. And what they would do is they'd plant rows of those so that you could still farm and you could still do the things in a natural or an easier kind of way, instead of like hacking through the forest. But there's no weeding, there's no fertilizer, there's no maintenance, there's no care. You prune every once in a while, maybe once a year you're in your garden. Other than that, you're just plucking fruit and things to eat.
It's like,
that is awesome.
It's really time consuming up front, but in the longevity of it and the amount of work you have to do in the long run is just very minimal. It completely takes care of itself. Right now, I've got this obsession with fish tanks. I don't know how it's gonna last, stuff. But I'm obsessed with it right now. And like, I'm determined to make a fish tank that is going to take care of itself. It's so cool. I've been really into it lately. So I got a couple things going. I got some plants growing. I'm gonna, I got a few things in the works. Got a couple tanks that people have given me. So I'm gonna start working on it, and I can't wait to see if I can make my own little ecosystem in these tanks to just take care of itself. the idea that stuff can just take care of itself is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
We try so hard to put our 10 cents in and try and help it along when really you should just leave it alone. That's the best thing you could do for most stuff, is just leave it alone.
Yes.
Or design with the knowledge that we have now. So there's all sorts of city permaculture design that we can do where you don't have to dig these big holes into the earth for all this extra runoff water, right, to go into a septic system, that you can actually design rows through subdivisions where the water actually soaks into the ground where you need it to, and there's rows of trees in between the suburbs that absorb all of this. They create the bee system, the butterfly system. We reduce energy costs because it shades the houses. We reduce water costs, because we're not watering lawns. Like all of these sorts of things that if we take our current day technology and knowledge and apply it to old school systems and redo our thought process, we would literally transform the world.
I know. Love it.
We
Ben's
are
over here
the world. We are the children.
That's right. And this commercial sponsor, if you want to give your 1 cent to own a piece of permaculture land in Africa.
Yeah. Like I love, like I like telling people when I, talk about permaculture or whatever, like, give me an example. Like, okay, like highways, they have those big, big swales in the ground on the sides. That's a huge permaculture technique. It sucks in water all year long. And then during droughts and stuff like that, you notice the sides of the roads are still green while everything else is all messed up. Like there was like something that they knew, like, okay, we have to do this. They're like and
they were doing it from a selfish standpoint to prevent the erosion of the highway.
Yeah. They were trying to be able to save the highways.
Get out of here, water! I'm trying to drive my freaking Earth Raper truck.
But I'm proud of Texas. They made a big initiative to do natural wildlife habitat restoration along the highways. And so like in Austin here, they're really doing a good job of replanting natural grasses and bushes that support bee and butterfly life. It's amazing. It's such a simple concept.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So I feel like you guys just, you two could design, like, if you were given like two miles.
Let's just say if we were given Mars, what would we do? Since that fits into the show.
If you were given Mars, what would you do?
I would I'd probably be coordinating with Tesla.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd be talking to the new owners of Whataburger. It's gonna have to be a staple of Mars. Whataburger
farm. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Everything made on site.
Martian beef.
Yeah, no, it is serious though, that it's using nature to your advantage. So what is the soil condition of Mars? And you can take that and you can figure out what nutrients are available, because there is something. Yeah. And then finding bacteria that will actually survive in that. So we can go to the extreme conditions. So we can go to Antarctica, we can go to the volcanoes, and we can find bacteria that live in those extreme cultures and find if they work on Mars, right? And then we know that we can start to manipulate those bacteria to also do something beneficial for humans. And so that would be my starting point of how do we make soil amends? Because nature, humans cannot exist without soil. We have to have soil on every aspect. That's how we're going to grow our food, survive in our food, replenish nutrients, and all of those sorts of things. So to me, it's figuring out the soil equation, and then you can start to build layers on top of that.
Dude.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's what Joe's been saying that for years. Dude, it all starts with the soil, man.
Yep. Soil is everything. Soil.
What kind of mushrooms? Yeah, what kind of mushrooms grow on Mars?
Yes. Yeah. Soils and funguses, man. If it wasn't for those things, none of this would be here. Everything. Everything. It's so crazy.
What this is all making me think of, guys, is like, if we think this is like the most, I think this is like so fascinating. I know you guys love this stuff. People in the chat are loving this stuff. Can we relate this thought of, like, you were talking about a self-sufficient biosphere, Joe, like with your fish tanks, and Dr. Dave, I mean, with your permaculture and the land that you're grooming right now, like, I think it's possible that Earth is a big project that like somebody's super proud of because it works really, really well. Like, I love that idea. Like, man, this was created by someone, and I'm not like a very, religious person, but
Yep.
I just think like, man, it's so perfect. And it's Earth in itself. Like it just works. It's perfect. It's awesome. Like, I don't know. Does that make you guys think of anything like, was this Earth made? Was this put here? Were we planted here? Like panspermia or?
I think now, man, like there's just so many, like every other day, like you hear something new Earth-like planet, spotted
Right.
out in this galaxy. You're starting to hear about it so often that now, like, yeah, like I think the idea that you're lucky enough to be born on planet Earth is like kind of a cool thing. The odds of that are pretty amazing, but like the odds of how special an Earth-like planet are, I think, are starting to like shrink, like the amount of amazement, that part shrinks. But I think it's more the luck that you were able to be born here on planet Earth is way cooler, I think.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in, I can't say that it's impossible that there isn't some other life out there. The interesting, is statistically the infinite aspect of, how many Earths there probably are out there. But what's an interesting conversation is multiverse. Like, are we the only ones in this multiverse, and in a different multiverse, that Earth-like thing is actually where the people live, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a fun conversation of what if there's only one civilization per multiverse?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I've thought of that too. Like, what? Yeah, like we are the only things that live in this universe, but only in this universe, and there's an infinite amount of.
And the reason why we haven't seen them distant, even though we feel like we have connection here on Earth that people are visiting us, is because other people have figured out how to travel the multiverse, come visit us, go back to their multiverse, and we can't see it with our limited technology. We only see all of the empty Earth-like things out there.
Could that have anything to do with like quantum entanglement? Like, would it be able to still react in a different universe altogether? Like if an atom wiggled over in another universe next to us, could an atom wiggle in our universe? And maybe the idea that they've figured it out somewhere else through quantum entanglement, somehow we just intuitively like know that something is there.
That's really cool. Yeah.
I don't know, guys.
Really cool.
There's something to it,
that could be behind ghost theory, right? Like when you feel that energetics of like what you feel in the corner, or why we feel sensations, and some people are more in tune with it than others, but that feeling, that energetic vibe.
Yeah.
Okay, so with the ghost theory, I heard a spooky story the other day, and it goes like this.
Spooky told you a story the other day?
No, I love Spooky, but he did not tell me this story. We have a buddy, Spooky Morales. What's up?
Oh, nice.
So this story, I wish I remember where I heard it. But anyway, it's these kids grew up next to their grandma, and then like the house next door. And this grandma would always tell the story of when she saw a ghost, and that it was two teenagers in her living room. And she was just sitting in her chair. And this is when these this is from the perspective of the kids now grown up. They're like, yeah, when we were younger, our grandma always used to tell us this ghost story that she saw two teenagers walking through her kitchen, and then she looked at them, and then they made eye contact, and then they disappeared. So cut to like 15 years later, they're like, these kids, these brother and sister are teenagers. They walk into their grandma's house after she's passed away, and they see a ghost of their grandmother sitting in the chair. And they've recreated exactly the ghost story that she told them when they were kids.
Whoa.
Does that make sense? Did I say that right? Okay. Isn't that kind of crazy? Like, she saw them in the future. There's some kind of overlap.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ghost theory or if that's a thing, but
I think that's everything theory.
Yeah.
I think that wraps this whole conversation together.
It does. UFO Lover 115 says, I want to be in a multiverse where I bathe exotic dancers for $150K a year with a good health care plan and paid sick leave. That's an awesome, multiverse to live in, man. I would love to live in that one too.
Wow.
Sponge baths for everyone.
Yeah.
It's not cheap though.
It's not cheap. It's going to cost you $150K. You want me to touch strippers for a living? It's going to cost you $150K.
That's a lot of glitter.
That's one of those like power. It's one of those power moves.
Oh, it gets everywhere.
Oh man, yeah. There's no way I can go home to my wife after this. It's going to cost me $150K. I got to go get power washed every day before I go home.
My skin's always so dang raw.
Oh man!
I actually just turned on the comments of everything. I realized I was so intent on the conversation that I forgot to look at the comments.
We do too.
This is really you guys have a lot of amazing fans.
There's a lot of cool people, man.
Yeah,
definitely a lot of cool people.
Always, dude. There's always like really great questions, and I try to star them with really cool stuff. There's one 509 asked, but I feel like maybe once we get into the deep stuff, it's a pretty cool question. But
cool.
Yeah, if you guys are listening, put in some questions and
shoot some love. This is really cool.
Yeah. So Dave, earlier, man, you were talking about a personal health assistant that you're working on. Can you talk about that, or is it like a secret right now?
Yeah, I don't believe in secrets. Like the age of startups where the non-disclosures and all that kind of stuff are gone. It's there's so much innovation happening, and truly we've entered this age of innovation where sharing is actually the best innovation.
And man, we need people like you in the UFO community. Seriously.
Yeah, right.
No more non-disclosure agreements. Let's just hear it already.
Yeah, it's amazing things that start to happen where we can start to do, and this is a whole side tangent, but if we want to go back to those protein structures, right? So we can use Google AI programs to design drugs now in an open source kind of way, because AI still doesn't have the capability to beat us humans at that type of design, but it can amplify it. And so they can do crowdsourcing ideas where you put out a $10 million prize and you get 1,000 of the top protein research designers in the world to work on this competition together with an AI, and you come down with the top 10 or top 20 most plausible enzyme designs for a drug delivery. And so this is the world that we're entering into, is that innovation stems from collaboration now. And this is the beauty of Web3 and what crypto and the actual use cases of blockchain and NFTs can actually be. And it gets really fun and exciting for me. So what we're doing as a digital health technology company is we are focused on empowering individuals. Our mission is to help Ben individually with him and his health, help Joe help him individually with his health, with an AI that gets to know them and understand them. And so when Ben comes across and he sprains his ankle, instead of having to sift through Google and millions of sites that are not relevant, or maybe you land on fake sites, you're actually going to be able to get the information that you need to know on how to move forward with something. And we're focused on lifestyle modifications. We're not actually trying to be a doctor. Most of what happens in our life is lifestyle based, right? Like, what diet is best for me? What exercise is best for me? What stretches are best for me? What mindfulness? And we have 6 main categories. And I don't talk about this much, but this is like a beautiful podcast to talk about this on, is that I have 64 different categories of health in this big circle mind map thing, that it starts with 6 categories and balloons out. And these are all the different fractions of, if we go into mindset, you can have a future, past, or present mindset. You have social relationships, you've got family relationships, right? And all of these things play a part into how you are at that given time and moment. And so if we want to sleep better, the current culture says, well, I'm just going to look up sleep research or sleep blogs. But the reality is, if you're stressed out at work, you need to know how to fix that in order to fix your sleep. If you're doing the wrong workout or the wrong diet for you, or you're getting food triggers, if you're in an environment where there's mold, all of that stuff could be stopping you from getting your sleep. So we're creating systems to try to figure all that out by connecting into all the different data around you. So this is the beauty of the world that we live in, is fitness trackers are everywhere. sensors in the next 5 years. There's just going to be a huge explosion of them. So we want to connect into all that data and actually make meaning of it for you guys as individuals. So that's what we're working on. Just a small little project. We have a patent on something called digital empathy, and it's the world's first digital empathy AI. And
Wow.
that's
You
the
tell
process.
me about that. Yes,
yeah, that's the
man.
process of relating technology and data to you from a perspective standpoint, and relating it to you in a way that motivates you and understands your preferences.
That's cool. So does this AI have like a like, it seems like technology comes with a name, like is his name like you're just like, hey Larry, I don't feel good
It's
today.
Inspire. Yeah. We call our AI Inspire.
Inspire.
Yep.
I like it. I guess that's
Dude,
I guess
See,
that's
Ben's
better than
laughing,
Larry.
but then I have an answer for it.
It
It's
needs to
hilarious.
be Larry, dude. It has to be.
Needs
You
to
got to
be
change it.
Larry
Excuse
the
me.
cable guy is coming into
Larry, I feel like shit.
Oh god, Larry, I don't feel good today, Larry.
And he's like, yeah, well,
Dude.
no shit. You drank wine until 10 p.m. last night and you didn't have
Yep.
any food.
Yeah.
Yep.
See,
Yeah. He's got to have a sarcastic New York accent.
Maybe we'll put that as a setting just for you guys, because we are having settings that you can change of like how much you want to be notified towards stuff. Like we're calling it the annoyance factor, right? How much do you want to get annoyed? And up front, you probably want to get annoyed a little bit more because you're trying to build new habits. But after you build those habits, you don't want to get annoyed by Larry.
Yes.
So Larry will be the voice in your head that you can select the button, just like the GPS voices that you can select the GPS voices.
See, like what you're talking about, dude, like I've got chills thinking about it because like that's like legit. There's this whole technology part, the AI that figures out what you need and what's, what you're deficient in and what went wrong. But it's also this whole other 50%, I feel like, is the communication aspect of it. Because if you can't communicate, yeah, because you don't want a robot telling you, like, that's the problem. Like I got an Apple Watch. Well, I got my mom's old Apple Watch for Christmas. And like, it's just telling me every 15 minutes, like, you're lazy as shit. Like, get up.
That's exactly what I'm building this company for. So like 2-3 years ago, when I was really heavy into digital health coaching, when I was coaching my executives, and it was the rage to get your Oura Ring, your Whoop, your all of these different data trackers that were really popular in the high performance world. The end result of all of them are, wow, you really sleep like shit.
Yeah.
Period. Like, no help. Like, great, I didn't sleep last night. What the heck can I do about it? And so that actually sent me into this whole AI research of my working philosophy when I started my research was technology is being built by technologists right now, and technology is not being built by the experts in whatever the case may be, agriculture, being a doctor, empowerment, whatever. And so for me, I was like, okay, how can I build technology with all of the things that are out there that already exist? How can I put them together in a more meaningful way? And the beauty of when I asked that question, I found hundreds of companies that I could just seam together and be like, well, this is something useful that I would want to use. And awesome. I would want to put into my patients' hands. And so that was where the big epiphany had. And then now I just need the funding to obviously build in AIs. I'm building a whole new way to do AI with different types of machine learning. It's just going to take a little while. We got to get a lot of data. We got to get a lot of people on there, and lots of development side of it.
I have this. Okay, this kind of sparked a weird thing in my head, but so my wife does like the crystals and stuff, right?
I love how the guy always says the crystals and stuff.
and okay, so she's gone in hard on it, and I didn't even know this, but this past like week or so, like I sleep like shit, right? So this is just kind of what made me think of it. I sleep like crap. And for this past week, I've been in the hardest, deepest, like coma-ish sleep I have had in, I think, years, man. Like, I've been sleeping so hard lately. And I was telling my wife the other day, man, I was like, man, I've been sleeping so hard. It feels so good. I've been sleeping like that. And she's like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, me too. And I was like, man, I don't know what the hell it is, man. She was like, I put the crystal by the bed. And I was like, what?
Amethyst by the bed. Yep.
So like, I didn't even know that it was there or nothing. And for some reason, I just started sleeping really good at the same time. So this kind of makes me wonder, like, whether you believe in in that type of stuff or not, right? Is there something to that? And if there is, could you harness that energy, and instead of like microwaving your brain on a phone charger, can you have your phone emit the same energy that like a stone would emit, to help you sleep?
Yeah. So this is beautiful, and I really want to say gratitude for bringing this up, because I am, first and foremost, I've always been a research scientist, and I used to believe in like the science dictated everything. And what the transformation that I had in my career was that the more that I thought I knew, the more loops I found out didn't actually work, and that research actually is very irrelevant in most cases. And so what we think we know in this paradigm 10 years later will be a completely different paradigm. And so when I started coming to this recognition, the big overarching principle that I had my essentially mental epiphanies, I started climbing the ladder, whatever you want to call that, of, every religion has its way of saying you're escalating.
Journey.
Yeah, my journey. It's I came to the realization that it's the power of whatever that person's perspective is that is working for them that is the most important thing.
Yes.
Because a person has to be a believer in the thing, no matter what it is. So science cannot prove this one way or another. And so I can actually talk about science of crystals and energy and flow dynamics. And yes, there's absolutely things to magnetism, like we discussed earlier, the bone stimulating thing. People, for some reason, haven't translated that over to like the plastics in their room. So like in our house, everything's wood. Everything is, because I literally feel a difference. My skin dries out when I'm around too much plastic. It just doesn't work well for my body. And I hold on to heavy metals, so I don't have aluminum deodorant and things of that nature, right?
Yes.
So these are all energetic things that crystals are not. It's you can make the argument that the crystal helped you. You can also make the argument that your wife believed that the crystal was helping her, and because she was sleeping better energetically, you started sleeping better because you two are connected. You can make the argument that the crystal just helped block some Wi-Fi, right? Like, it just, there's an exponential amount of reasonings, and they're all bullshit, and it doesn't actually matter, because the end result is that you got better sleep, and that's all that matters.
Yes.
So this is the empowerment component that we're putting into Authentic, is this aspect of what works for you. Let's do more of it. Let's find out what is actually working for you. So this is why we do connect into this data, and especially sleep trackers nowadays, where we can try something for 10 days or 30 days, and we can say, objectively, there was a sleep difference. Mentally, according to your audio AI, got better. Your habit tracking got better. Your accountability got better, right? Or maybe it all went to shit. And so let's constantly, this is another side tangent of everyone has stuff happen to them in their life. The best laid out plan will go wrong the next day if you sprain your ankle, or your friend dies, or something happens. And so we have to have real-time feedback. We have to have real-time adjustments on all of these 64 different categories of our health, because one thing can go wrong. We get exposed to mold. We go out for a hike in the woods, and we get blasted with some mold in our face, right? Like our bodies are supposed to be, cedar in Texas. Oh my God. Since I moved down here, this went crazy, right? Exactly. So
it's allergy season every season. It's year round allergy season.
This is the dynamic of being a human. And so we have to have something in real time to solve it. And we need to find the things that are working for you as an individual, not the general population.
Dude, I think that just as an idea is going to go a long way. Like, that is where things are headed. I think that's the future.
I'm hoping to be part of the next $1 trillion industry. Yeah.
Because like everything, and maybe this comes down to like the amount of money and time it takes to like make it possible. It's like, yeah, sure. Like, this is like the most amazing idea. And like, how do you make this happen? Like, how long does it take? Like, maybe this idea existed 20 years ago, and now it's just perfect in the right spot to where we have enough technology, enough building blocks to put the pieces together in some way to make it happen. Cause like this wouldn't, I mean, the idea could have happened 40 years ago, but like now it's actually possible.
Well, and
right?
it did. I mean, I was having this conversation in 2008 when I was starting. In 2008 is when I started really coaching hardcore Olympic athletes and things of that nature. And all of them had their Garmin's and, measuring their triathlete response. So you get all these heart rate variability numbers and things of that nature. And they're all like, they train in Wisconsin, which is where I had my sports medicine practice. They go down to Arizona for their competition and literally collapse and start puking because they were chasing the same heart rate numbers as they were training in Wisconsin. But then they went to, 40-degree warmer weather and different humidity level. And they were chasing numbers instead of chasing their body and understanding how to feel themselves. So I was having these conversations all the way back then of, data is a aspect to be utilized. It is not the answer, and most people think data is the answer right now.
And a lot of people,
I have a problem with that too. Like
privacy.
It's weird. Like, well, just like kind of like people's way of thinking about science is like almost religious at this point. Like it's so dogmatic and like.
I hate
the phrase,
destroyed a lot of stuff.
I hate the phrase, I believe in science. Like, fucking we all do. Like, that's such a stupid thing to say. Stop saying that. It's so stupid. We all believe it. We're breathing oxygen right now, you dumbass. We all believe in science. Like, some people believe in less science than others. I get that. But, like, to just tell a blanket statement, I believe in science, so stupid. And you can't really... I mean, believe it, but what does that mean? Does that mean that you trust it as 100% fact right now, today? Do you feel the same way tomorrow? Do you feel the same way next year, 10 years from now? When the science changes, I get to come back to you and say, no, you can't believe in this science. You believed in that science. So don't come over here.
Because the science at one point said to drill a hole in your head for headaches. And that was scientific fact.
There was
taught in middle school.
Lobotomies were a thing, like at one point, right? Like, it's like the difference between believing in science and scientists. Like there's always a human aspect that ruins it. Like going back to the very beginning of our chat tonight, Dave. Like we're going back to like what even if the science is there, all the proof is there and the research, but like if you don't get your stuff peer reviewed and stuff, there's this whole scientific community that won't pay attention to you or won't publish anything. And if they don't, then we were talking about the word truth that one night we were hanging out. Like, and I know it sounds weird, like, but what is truth? But like in a culture
what
like
people
ours,
don't understand is that we live in a society that in order to do research, it is a money game and it is a tenure game. So if we just look at the university system as a whole, the only way people keep their jobs is if they keep making valid scientific proof forward with the easy scientific projects that cost less and get big results, right? But what ends up happening is that instead of being an actual scientific method where they might be wrong, they only pick the projects where they know they're going to be right and that an end company is going to buy that result so that they can get their tenure, so that they can keep their job, because we live in that society where you get fired if you don't perform something. And we don't have a culture, and this is especially through a work culture, you can never be wrong. And in most workplaces, like if you mess up, it's your fault. It's not everything as a system's fault. And so you get fired for making a mistake when the reality is you should be encouraged. There should be whole divisions and teams that are meant to fail. Like every company should have a failure division of we're going to try this and we're going to try this. And we hope that it fails because we want to prove this product market fit, or we want to prove that this thing is wrong. And it's just not the culture that we have right now. So research is really messed up at a core level. And so what we see as the general public even gets amplified further, because the only thing that makes the news is what some news person thinks of as like, there's over 4,000 articles being published every day that one news person is going to pick on broccoli causes cancer now, right? Because the general public thinks that that's a thing.
Remember when lettuce was like, it was giving people E. coli, like
it's I mean, I've gotten to the point where when I was deep into my research career, it was my whole job would be, okay, here's the thing, and then I'm going to find 10 articles that support it and 10 articles against it, and it'd be super easy to do. Like literally, there's just as many arguments for as there are against in research, and that has been the constant thing. That is the point of research, is to make arguments and counter arguments. So we can't fully rely on this until we get generational research, and then we can put AI to start to go back and read these research, because a human can't possibly understand the research now. This is the big thing that I think is the next generation, is that we're going to make AIs actually start to get correlation and causation data for generations of research, so that we can actually look at things scientifically.
Yeah. Man, those like those failure teams that you were talking about, like it seems like it would almost speed up the research process, because, like right now, right, you could say, all right, I want to start this thing up. I want to get a team that is going to work strictly on teleportation, right? And just have them work on that. And then by the time, the next like 40, 50 years, when material science really starts to catch up to where you could possibly do that, you've already spent that 50 years like failing the entire time. So you already know 50 years worth of work that you don't have to do. Now you're already further ahead.
This is why we need to support the startup culture and innovation culture of entrepreneurs. They are the people doing that. They're the failure teams right now. Yeah. They're the ones that are trying to peer out into the future and create a new vision and be like, hey, tribe, I think this is a really crappy area. We should move over here. They're the crazy ones, right?
Yeah.
And they try to figure that out, of how they can get the whole tribe to go over there.
It seems so counterproductive. Like as a culture, like we just allow people to spend their life savings on companies, and then a lot of them just fail, dude. Yep. And it's like,
and that's what
I wish there was some kind of like fund. I don't know. I mean, we're talking about government funding, I guess, right now. Like,
well, yeah, government funding. So I'm actually qualifying for some military stuff right now, and because the government sets out, it's only like $2 billion, which may sound like a lot, but when you look at the overall budget, right, this is an innovation. $2 billion goes really fast when you're talking like military innovation and all of that kind of fun stuff. So there is little bits out there. Yeah. And this is where most startups, this is where venture capitalists come in, and angel investors, people who are, now we have a whole division of what's called impact investors. And these are typically family generational people that have wealth, and they go, oh, we want to fix this problem. We just don't care if we own part of the company. Let's just give it money and put the best minds on it. And this is where that, looping back into the beginning of our conversation, the collaborative culture is starting to really come to the forefront.
Yeah, dude. I hope it improves as far as like, well, I guess we might do a full loop with that whole funding issue with the politics, and like you need to perform, and like, yeah, it's not just in academia, but it's also in the military sector, and there's all the black budget sector with the military too. Like, what was like the most recent, like it's something like 1,000 million gajillion dollars, like we don't even there's not even a number for like that budget. They should have just said, instead of the number, they were just like, it's a lot, just trust me, it's a lot.
Yep, that's a lot. Oh, what is that show that makes fun of that? There's like there's a show, I can't remember the name of it, but
is it Inside Job? Is it a cartoon?
Inside Job is one of them. I love Inside Job,
dude. It is so good. Joe, have you seen Inside Job yet? It's on Netflix.
Oh, yeah, it's right up your alley,
bro. It literally, like all the shit we love to talk about, like conspiracies.
I think I need to say,
it's
like, right up your garage.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
it's awesome. There you go.
Yeah,
man.
Rick and Morty, Inside Job, they go hand in hand. There'll probably be a convergence of the two shows at some point.
I hope so. Speaking of Rick and Morty, I feel like it's
kind of like
the
Flintstones and Jetsons.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it.
How did that even happen? The convergence of those two, like, did they go back in time?
They were basically like the same thing, just one was in the Stone Age and the other was in the future.
Yeah, but how did they converge in the timelines?
Didn't Gazoo? I think Gazoo set that up.
Flashed them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they went to the future and met the Jetsons.
That mischievous little bug. Sorry, that was offensive to any bug type aliens out there. I didn't mean it.
Any Martians out there, we apologize.
Yeah, any of those that are listening.
We're gonna get we're gonna get so many emails about that.
It is so many, like they're called insectoids.
Oh god.
I feel like it's time in the show that we should watch a
I love this one for the doors.
Real doors cluttering up your house where you open them and you actually go somewhere and you go into another room. Get on down to Real Fake Doors. That's us. Fill a whole room up with them. See, watch. Check this out. Won't open. Won't open. Not this one. Not this one. None of them open. FakeDoors.com is our website, so check it out for a lot of really great deals on fake doors.
The drool on his mouth, dude.
Yeah.
He's got a tiny door in his hat. Drives a Mazda
Step
Miata.
on it. We all got places to be. Son of a bitch.
I love this.
Hey, everybody. So this is my house. Just made a sandwich. Peanut butter and jelly. Still here. Still selling fake doors. We have fake doors like you wouldn't believe. What are you worried about? Come get fake doors. Call us up and order some fake doors today. Don't even hesitate. Don't even worry. And don't even give it a second thought. That's our slogan. See.
You know, I think that's one of the websites that I haven't tried to see. I've checked out all their other websites that they mention in the podcast or in the podcast in the show. I haven't tried fake doors.
Oh my god.
FakeDoors.com. Don't even worry about it. Don't even think about it.
Just go. What they didn't show in this clip was the cutscene where they go back to Rick and Morty, and Morty's like, "Oh my god!" Or Rick says, "Oh my god! Is this still the commercial?" Like,
yep.
Just wait it out. Just see where it goes.
Yes.
Oh my god! Multi-dimensional cable.
Rick and Morty are. I think I'm on my 4th time watching it through all the seasons now.
It's awesome.
Oh, dude,
Yep.
That is awesome.
Does it keep just getting better? Do you notice like more things?
Yeah, so every time I've watched it, like you actually start to even understand the depth behind the depth, and because now you understand in some of the future things in the beginning episodes, it's crazy the consistency that they have throughout everything of how much thought probably went into it years before they created the first episode.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah, like the depth and like it's so smart. Like it's like that old saying about there's like a really popular sitcom, Big Bang.
Oh yeah, The Big Bang Theory. Yep.
So like I haven't really watched it, but the saying was like it's a smart show for like dumb people. Like I always thought that was kind of mean, but I think Rick and Morty is like a very, very smart show.
It's super intelligent. I geek out over it so much. It's like all my life passions put together in a comical way that I actually relate to Rick. No surprise there. like, oh yeah, I could totally see myself being him if I could be a cartoon character.
Yes,
dude. Yes. Oh my god.
I think that the Fake Doors episode was the first episode of Rick and Morty I ever saw, and then I was like, all right, I'm watching it.
So
my wife had an aversion to it. Like I made her watch the first episode and she's like, this is so stupid. And then I watched all the, like, I think at that time I was only up to season 3. And then I was rewatching it and I was 3 or 4 episodes in and she kept having to hear some of it. And she's like, oh, okay. So then she started sitting down slowly. And then I was like, can we restart this? Like, I think this is cool.
Yes. Similar thing with me and my wife with the other show. Oh my god, I'm blanking.
Inside Job.
Inside Job.
Yep.
Like in the background, she was like, "Oh my god, this is hilarious. This is like exactly what you and Joe talk about in your podcast every day." Like,
yeah.
So I love that. Dude. And your wife Ashley, we're coworkers. We work in the same job. So dude, she's awesome, man. She's awesome, dude.
Nice little work party.
Yeah, it was a good work party.
I knew it was cool. Like, I think, what was it, in the first 5 minutes of us sitting down next to each other, we were already having like quantum physics conversations, and it was just like, okay, there's something here. We need to like.
Bro, I was like, there was the seating arrangement was weird, and I'm like, man, Dave's okay. There's a spot. I've been wanting to introduce myself, and dude, in like 15 seconds, we're like, all right, so the consciousness aspect.
Oh god, it's always nice when you can meet somebody else at a party that you can connect like that with, right? Because
especially a work party.
Yeah,
I had zero expectations there.
Man, yeah. As much I feel like sometimes I dislike people as much as I like people. You know, like I love people and I love certain environments, but like sometimes I'll get there and I'll just be standing like in a circle of people and I'm like, I don't care about any of this.
Like, there's a point where I'm now at a stage in my life where I just can't stand small talk. It's like I immediately change the conversation if I can't recognize that person picks up on it. Like, I'm not rude or anything like that. It just, I'd much rather have fun conversations. I'm at the point in my life where I'm constantly seeking the betterment side of things, and talking about the weather is not one of them. If you want to talk about technology and weather, sure, let's fucking go. But like, talking about how hot it is, like, I don't care. I've been all over the world. Like, I've experienced cold. I've experienced hot. This is cool.
Yeah, right. The weather here is just fine, dude.
Yep.
Dude, speaking of small talk, we had a handyman come and install a dog door. It was like through the side of the house, so like I didn't feel comfortable doing it. Like there was like an electrical thing. Anyway, the guy barely spoke English, but like I knew that, but I like an idiot. I was like, it was just me and him. We were like waiting on Jess was up. My wife was on the phone with the contractor getting a price, and we're just standing there, me and this dude, just in silence. And I was like, "So, you watching the Super Bowl?" He was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "What team are you going for?" And he was like, "I don't really watch football." And I was like, "I don't either." and then yeah, it was a very short convo. That was it. Like that's as far as I go with small talk. Like, hey, do you football stuff? You know football, right? I'm relying on you for your football knowledge. I am an average guy.
And then they're like, I don't know anything about football. You're like, well, this is over.
That's what happened. That's exactly what happened. I walked away.
Oh God. You're like, hold on. I'll be right back. I gotta go turn this off in my house. I'll be right back. I left the light on. The always on. And for some reason, right now at this moment, it's very important that I go turn that off. Shit, my cousin's churning butter right now. I gotta go help that guy. Like,
dude, I forgot to vacuum the garage, man.
Anything to get out of those conversations, man. It's so crazy because like my sister-in-law and my wife, they're sisters, so like they call each other, and like it's crazy the amount of like silence that happens in those conversations just blows my mind. It's like they'll just be like, "Hey, what you doing?" "Oh, nothing." That's good.
Yep.
Just trying to make dinner. Then get off of the phone and make dinner. Like, why are you just like, I mean, you're wasting some kind of like bandwidth. Traffic. Yeah. Bandwidth for no reason. Stop it. Like, what are y'all doing right now? Yeah. It's so crazy. It reminds me of like being a kid and like trying to talk to a girl, and there's just like 15 minutes of silence and breathing that y'all hear. Yes. And neither one of y'all wants to hang up. It's like those kinds of conversations.
Oh my
God. I can't do that anymore.
Dude, but if you think about it, like going back to those conversations we had, like, so I'm like, have a cold a little bit, but
I thought you smelled your armpit and got to.
I did smell that. Like, keep getting like globs of like snot. Sorry, this is gross. But like those conversations where you're just not saying anything, I feel like that's the beginning of like telepathy, like feeling this connection to another. Like, you know that you have their attention. I'm just getting philosophical, I guess, but like, you know that you're having their attention, and you're doing something physical. You're holding up something to your head, and you feel connected to that person. And even though there's silence, maybe you feel like, oh, I've like, experiencing something with that person in this time or whatever. But
Yeah.
I do agree. I feel like it's an inconvenience. Like I don't know. Like
it sucks the energy out of me immediately.
yeah.
But it's good because I feel like I've kind of like identified an energy like before I even like get into a conversation a lot of times. Like you ever look at somebody and you're like, nah, fuck that guy. You immediately just turn around. You're like, I'm not even going. You don't even lock eyes sometimes. You just like, nope, not doing it.
Yep.
I'm going over here.
Maybe that's why some people do the small talk. Like that's just like an underlying fuck you.
Uncomfortableness. Yeah, most people do small talk because they don't know how to engage in human to human connection.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking of the scene in I Love You Man where Paul Rudd and the dude that does the Star Wars movies now or TV shows. Have y'all seen that movie I Love You Man?
Yeah.
Where like he goes over to like hang out with the wife's husband, and he's like doesn't give two shits about the guy. He's like, oh yeah, cool, fucking fine. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel like this the passive sometimes. Like people are just being polite with the small talk, but I don't know. Maybe I'm looking in too far into it. But
it's a mask for a lot of people. It's people in today's society. We don't know how to be uncomfortable and to work through our stuff, and so there's a real aspect of small talk that is a busyness that our mind has because we can't sit still and we can't just be present with a moment. And so you talk about the weather and gas prices are the most common things simply because instead of connecting to a person and being like, oh, what are your passions in life? Because it's a hard question.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like you go to a networking event, they do small talk because you're uncomfortable finding the real person behind that mask.
Yeah.
Ooh, so it's an ego thing.
I get in trouble sometimes. Like if I get in a situation, my brain just shuts off. Small talk, like it just shuts off. I literally can't think of anything to say. Sometimes I get in trouble because my wife would be like, why are you being so quiet? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Nothing. Like I just literally can't think of anything to say because anything that I would say has nothing to do with anything happening right now. Like it's just my brain just shuts off. I don't know how to, and I don't know how to make it work. I'm so bad at small talk now. It's ridiculous.
Dude, I'm the same way, bro. Like, yeah, sometimes it comes off rude, but like, I can't think of anything to talk about. Like, either I'm going to ask you about aliens and like where the universe is. Like,
yeah.
But you know what the blessing in disguise is after we've started this podcast. It's like most people that we kind of know, like if I were to be in an uncomfortable situation with somebody that I really don't know all that well, at least they know a little bit about me and that I have a podcast about aliens. So like, it's been kind of nice. Like the first thing we talk about is you like aliens, right?
Yeah.
It's been kind of cool. It makes it easier.
See, that's better than mine. As soon as people find out I'm a doctor, the first thing is, I've got this thing, or can I pick your brain? Or like, it's literally not instantaneous for people to ask about their problems to me.
Hey, will you look at this mole, dude?
Yeah, seriously. Random people I meet at networking events will ask me like, oh, what do you think about this? And they'll start taking pieces of their clothes off.
Like, no.
What's that David Spade movie where he's like, hey, what's wrong with my knee? And he like pulls his kneecap like way out of place.
Oh, yeah. What is that one? That wasn't Tommy Boy. What was that one? Crap, I can't remember.
I don't know. If anybody in the chat knows, let me know. Shit, dude. I had some questions that's gonna kind of bring us back to a subject, but it has to do with DNA editing and stuff, and I want to bring it back to aliens. Okay, if we're ready to go.
So
there.
like an hour ago, geez.
No, right?
Yeah. Well, but like, I just want to ask, like, what are your thoughts about? There's this whole idea in the ufology community and experiences. We've talked to a lot of experiencers that have dealt with abductions, and a lot of people come out of these experiences having seen aliens, having been through what's called a hybridization program. And if you're unfamiliar with that, it's basically that there's an agenda. There's like this extraterrestrial agenda that's been kind of overseen by one or more species of aliens as kind of watching out for Earth, kind of taking care of us.
Mm-hmm.
But they've been genetically altering us to adapt us to where we are today, slowly and surely. But the method is through abduction, and they follow like family lineage. Like, is anything like, if anything like that resonates with you? But I guess you'll speak to that. But I guess
Science-wise, it's absolutely plausible. 100% from a scientific standpoint. I'm not saying that it's science from the alien abducting standpoint, but genetic manipulation at different stages. If that alien knew that type of technology to come down and advance our species, there's so much. I mean, we're barely starting to understand 1% of our DNA right now. This is the really cool future that we can live in, is that we're just starting to scratch the surface of our understanding of DNA and what it actually means and the epigenetics behind it and how that gets expressed. And so 100% plausible that there's so much DNA packed into our DNA that we still are like, this is so weird. We just now, it was about 5-7 years ago, there was this big chunk of DNA called exosomes that all get snipped out during DNA replication processes. And we just thought that these things floated away and that they were pointless. And no one thought to ask the question of, I wonder if these things are useful. Well, finally people did. And what we realized is that they're actual messaging systems. So this is the really beautiful thing of plants when we nature bathe and we get out into nature, is that they're sharing their plant DNA with us, and it actually interacts back and forth as like little email packets with our body. And so that's what we know, is we're just starting to get into that DNA aspect. So is it plausible that a different, generation, race, whatever alien that has come down, abduct us, upgrades our system? Absolutely. Yeah, because we would have no recognition of it right now.
Yeah.
And it's totally plausible to do from a science standpoint.
That's crazy. That's good. And then it, like, you go even like more, you go even deeper, and some would say that like we used to have 3 strands in our DNA, and we were altered. They took a strand away, and there's missing pieces there, that we're still trying to figure it out. Like you said, I mean, we're understanding like 1% of this. We haven't even, we're 1% into the 2-strand DNA. The 3rd strand, like, wow.
So I'm sure you guys have dove deep enough, or maybe you haven't, probably, maybe not, I don't know. But our human DNA is actually the smallest amount of DNA in our body. So there's mitochondrial DNA, and there's yeast DNA, and there's fungi DNA. That actually represents a majority of what makes up a human that isn't human. And so when you think about this, like, this is really freaking trippy, and it can get into going back to the fungus on Mars, right? Like we could be connected as fungal units, that we could get into a philosophical thing that we're just a neural network of fungi that exist within a network, and when we die we just absorb back into the fungal network, right? Like, and if we don't allow our bodies to do that, our consciousness can't go back into the fungal network, and all sorts of fun conversations,
right?
But it's totally plausible that, right now we have a working theory of this mitochondrial DNA as Eve being the first mitochondrial DNA that started replicating, and then that's how we started getting 2-cell organisms and things of that nature. So yeah, man, it's totally plausible that, like I said, there's just so much that we don't know about our bodies, that we think we know, but we have no clue. And I think 100% that it's plausible.
Dude, huge conspiracy theory here. Okay, huge conspiracy theory. But what if, like, when you die and you decompose and you return yourself back to the fungal network, and your consciousness returns back to Earth? What if there was a huge, massive conspiracy that wanted to stop consciousness from entering back into the Earth? And that's why we started selling caskets to people. Like, caskets are like the underground oil industry, oil and gas industry, or whatever. Like, they're like the big evil corporation.
Competing corporations at an interstellar level. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so they're hiding you in boxes, and they're like, no, this is the more, this is a better way to guard your body and put it in the ground, when really you shouldn't. You should be returned back to the planet and have your consciousness return to Earth. and the less and less people that their consciousness is able to go back to the earth slowly starts to die. You know,
That's interesting.
it's
I
an
love it.
energetic being. You know, it's energy. You know, that doesn't
love
mean
it.
that when we die, our energy doesn't go somewhere inside this box. I mean, that's obviously going to decompose at some point, but maybe there's like a timeline that your consciousness can exist and be absorbed back into the earth. And
Yep.
if you're in this box for 50 years plus, that consciousness just slowly dies out.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that.
Oh,
The corporate Congress. I mean, that's a conversation we could have. The conspiracy theories around corporate Congress. If you've ever watched Continuum, it's an old Canadian show that I absolutely love. It's about time travelers from 2075.
Okay, keep going. I want to know.
I haven't seen
You
Continuum.
have to look it up. I got addicted.
Okay.
I think it ran from like 2011 or 2012.
It's called Corporate Congress?
No, it's called Continuum with like the infinity symbol. That in there is the government goes away because corporate Congress takes over. And so the city in 2075 is like the Facebooks and Enrons and like all of the big buildings, and there's this military police that come in, and you're not allowed to be human, and you're not allowed to like do any of the things that humans really want to do, right? It's a really out there thing, but they have DNA suits. Oh, so freaking cool. Their computers pop up in their fingertips.
That's
so
cool.
This goes back into that sci-fi helps predict and dictate the future of technology for biotech. They have DNA suits that the computer screen pops up. It's integrated with your contact lens kind of thing, and you can do your computer stuff in your fingertips. So these military people go around killing all the people who are trying to just live in the streets because you have to be part of the system, right? And so then there's a time travel aspect where the group of the crazy people, the conspiracy theory people, figure out a way to go back in time to try to stop corporate Congress and bomb them. And that's all I'm going to say about the show, because it's to me, I'm the reason why I like Pickle Rick and the reason why I like BBC shows and Canadian shows is because they're all at a much higher level intellectual, where you have to follow them in all the details. And then just like Fight Club and Pulp Fiction, right? You can go back and you can start to piece together different timelines, and it's really cool. So Continuum.
Love that.
I'm watching it, dude. Yeah.
Got it. That sounds dope.
Monty Python, right?
Yeah. Well, we used to put that on repeat, Monty Python and the Quest for the Holy Grail. That was like on repeat on the TV in our biochem lab.
Yes.
Where while we're making green bacteria, we would be a 5-ounce bird cannot carry a 1 pound coconut.
Yeah. Instant classic. That's such a great one, man. That's such a great one. Let's see.
I've got Tammy has a question.
Okay.
So
it's so funny. I just saw you highlight that.
Yes. So the question is, for those just listening, how upset will Dave be if we figure out that we do all that stuff ourselves without a computerized aid? Serious question.
Yep. So the first stage of evolution that needs to happen is we all have to have self-awareness, and we need assistance with that. And that's what we're trying to do with Authentic. The whole point of it, though, is, like I said, our mission is to empower people to understand what to do with themselves. So the whole goal is that the technology starts to go away from your everyday life, but it's still there to monitor from a standpoint of the things that you don't know, because we don't have this self-awareness. We don't feel that we're losing sleep. We don't feel that we're losing hydration. We don't have the awareness that we're losing the flexibility in our knee. It just happens. Mm-hmm. Right? Technology can be there to be an early indicator warning, to be like, by the way, you've got this thing going on, and here can be your next program. So the whole point isn't to like have things be consistently with you. The whole point is to be able to bring awareness to you and empower you to make those changes for yourself. So our goal in our technology company is to make you as human as possible, and to be having as little thought towards technology as possible. We want to put technology in the background, because I'm a true believer that AI and all of this stuff that's coming down will allow us to be the human side of community and connection, and getting back to those roots of talking with people and not having the small talk, right?
Yeah.
So that's really what we're after. So that's the whole purpose. Is I'm not upset. That's my whole goal, is to not have people think about technology and to not have it with them all the time, other than a few sensors monitoring.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty awesome. Like, because I was thinking in my head, like when you start having a lot of like health apps connected to you, and you can just see kind of like what's going on with your body at all times. Like, how now just as simple as like, you ever go take a poop without your phone, you like freak out. You're like, oh my
Yes.
God. Like, like you can't,
The
you
phone
leave your
anxiety
phone
is real.
somewhere. Yeah. And you freak out. It's almost like leaving your wallet. Well, like what if something happens and then it doesn't work? And like now people are so like used to just having like what their body's doing, like at, just at a fingertip, and then they lose it. Like, are they going to freak out? I guess it's more of like a personal thing, and like
it's
your
hard for people
addictiveness.
to imagine right now, but the future of technology is that you won't feel it or see it.
Yeah.
We are about 5 years away where MIT has already developed fabric sensors. So like these fitness trackers and bulky things that we wear, like in the next 5 years, those will basically be gone.
Yeah.
Where they'll be sewn into our fabric. They'll be in your underwear. They'll be on your toilet seat. They'll be on your pillow.
Yeah.
And you won't even notice or feel them.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll just go into this one data center that is for you as an individual, privacy protected, all that kind of good stuff. And it'll be there. That'll be a thing making use of it for you, so that you don't have to think about this data.
Yeah, dude. The idea that you can just throw a t-shirt on, go for a jog, and when you get home, you have a little notification on your phone or something. It's like your heart rate was this, your oxygen level was this, your sweat indicated that you have this going on. You may be getting a cold.
So what we're doing with Authentic is taking it to the next level and being like, okay, we know your favorite shoe is this Adidas. We know that the plastic on it only lasts for 300 miles with its foam density. So every 300 miles, Authentic could pop up a notification if you would like to say, would you like to reorder these shoes? Right? You don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about how many miles you ran.
Right.
Technology can now start to do those things for us. And that frees up our brain space so that we can actually just go do awesome kick-ass things.
Yeah, that's awesome. I saw this thing where this lady, she was brushing her teeth and she spit in the sink, and then up on her mirror popped up all her stats for the day.
Yeah.
That was really awesome. And the sink was able to tell everything about your body just by the spit that you spit into it. That's so cool.
Yeah, we're there. People really don't realize like the amount of sensors that are available. The whole world is massively shifting in the next 5 years.
Man, yeah, it's pretty incredible. The idea that like on your kitchen countertop, you can just like pull up Google's on your kitchen countertop and then throw it over to your refrigerator is insane. Or pull it up in your refrigerator and you're like, oh, that's a good recipe, and you just slide it over to your oven countertop, and it's there on your countertop, and you can still cook on it.
Augmented reality and your contacts are already here.
Yeah.
So you can wear contacts. And so like, I mean, the classic example right now, and it's kind of funny saying the word classic example when you're talking augmented reality. But like you're a car mechanic and you have these, contact lenses on, and as you're looking at the engine, all of the labels come up, and it automatically the contact lenses are looking for defects in the hoses and all of that stuff, and a little warning sign will come up. It says this tube is bad, replace this, right? So like we have some really cool tech that's coming.
Mm-hmm.
I have one quick question before I ask Simon. Simon's got a really great question. But so Dave, you spoke about freeing up brain space, right? Like, so I'm making this link between where humans started to cook meat, and that allowed us to not have to digest and spend so much energy on digesting our food and our raw foods. Like, do you think there's some kind of link between that same thing? Like, do you think that that's going to allow for our brains to grow in some way? Like, what's going to happen when we have all this free time?
Yeah. So this is the next human evolution that's coming is a social emotional up leveling. So the past few centuries, we've had intelligence epiphanies, we've started inventing machines, right? We went all these thousands of years with nothing, and then suddenly the industrial age hit and all these inventions. And if you look at the craziness of computer technology and the exponential growth rate, we have exponential growth rates of exponential growth rates, right?
But we still have to interface. We still have to press the button and
But
fuck with settings and all that, you know?
We won't in the near future. And so what'll end up happening is that'll free up the brain space. Instead of having to think about this data, instead of thinking about having to do all these different processes like the middleman, if you want to think of it from a business standpoint, we take out all of that. And then suddenly, if I'm passionate about saving the sea turtles in the Gulf of Mexico, like I can think of creative ways to do that, and then technology figures out the logistics of how to do it, right? But I'm the person that I can put all of my effort now into doing the passion projects that I want and hanging out with my cohorts of friends. As humans, I truly believe we're meant to be in little pods of 150 people. There's lots of different types of experiments going on in the world with this. Of 150 people, we can have a vibrant community where we all get to know each other, understand each other's passions, and we can start to really have that human connection again, where we can sit and have tea together. We can sit and cook food together, right? Because all of the BS stuff is replaced with technology.
So say we imagine we have this system set up, right? This is going to kind of go into the dark side of this conversation. I guess,
sweet.
So if we have this system set up, right, where everybody's going to the bathroom, right, in a city, and the city has sensors that can tell just by like what's coming through the toilets, like the health of the population as an entirety, you know, things like that. Even coming down to like the you know, all these DNA tests and stuff like that, you know. They're giving you, you know, where, you know, you came from and this and that. So the dark side to that is like, what are the safeguards that are put in place for them to say, okay, yeah, I use this technology to be able to see how the population is doing, how healthy, how unhealthy they are, but also we can tell what diseases this population is most susceptible to. We can tell the things that would wipe them out if, you know, something. What are the safeguards put in place to just stop some evil guy from being like, oh, I have the secrets, you know, I can release this virus because I know this certain population is so susceptible to it just by the data I've collected, you know, over the past 50 years.
The up until this point, unfortunately, there is a consistent truth that there'll always be some bad people. There'll always be some super righteous people, and then the majority of people will be in the middle. And it's that majority that you don't hear from, that our brains tend to pick up on the one bad thing, but the vast majority of people are not murderers and rapists and all of the bad things, right?
Right.
So I think in the future, there may be some sort of genetic manipulation, but this would be scary for me, where we take out what we think are bad traits. Now, this goes down a whole crazy ethical thing of what is a bad trait, because then you get into religious conversations, you get into philosophical conversations of what is bad, what is good. And so the reality is we should just let it be, and we should have the expectation that there will always be some people who would really try to mess things up. But the good news is that if technology helps empower the middle class of this thought process, that they will still always overcome those bad people and have that balance. But to me, I'm a realist from that standpoint, and that something bad will always happen. And I have that expectation. When I buy a car, I know that I'll need to change the oil, and I know that I'm going to get a flat tire. A flat tire does not wreck my day because I prepped mentally. This is Stoic philosophy for me, that I'm a huge fan of. I prep for the bad things so that I don't have it as an unexpected event.
So we're talking about like as powerful as the defense would be, the hope is to have equal and opposite offense for those scenarios. Like
correct. Yep.
So
and proven through history, we've had our checks and balances naturally through history. And I think that if you look at any nature system, it goes into the bell curve aspect. And so I think we follow that too. We're just on a much different bell curve than most of nature, and we just haven't realized the full bell curve yet. If we want to get into the matrix and say you're a virus, Mr. Anderson,
yeah.
right?
It's the smell.
The virus will attenuate and hit their peak and trough as well.
Dude, okay.
We just haven't been on a long enough timeline to actually see that peak and trough.
Oh my gosh. I want to ask, I want to go into the Matrix so bad. I want to be, because we got some questions in the chat I want to get to. I know I don't know how much time you have, but we're getting towards that hour and a half mark. So
yeah.
Well, yeah, dude. Well, Simon has a question. What's the most no effing way moment you've ever had in your life?
Ooh. Well, I can think of this from multiple angles. For a personal, how would I describe this? The holy shit, I'm glad to be alive moment was actually a few years ago. I was silly. I'm a natural athlete, so I played college football and semi-pro football, and I just have a natural ability to move my body in certain ways. And so I was scaling a mountain. And I'd never scaled a mountain before, and it's called a scat 2, where you have to like literally get on your hands and knees and climb up. And I thought I was following the trail, but I was actually following a goat trail, and I didn't find that out until I found the nest with a whole bunch of goat poop in it. And I turned around, and I'm like way up this mountain on the side of a cliff, and I'm like cornered in, and I'd never been up on a mountain before, so I had no idea how to scale back down.
Oh no.
And, so I start going back down, and I'm smart enough to know to take my time and breathe, and going up, you have all your angle points that you can see. Going down, you have no angle points that you can see where you came from. So you have no idea what path you took to actually get back down, because there was no actual path. And what ended up happening is I started a landslide, and I started going on this river rock down, and I got about 2 feet away from a cliff, and the rocks that were falling down, I counted, it took 15 seconds for them to hit the ground, which means that I was probably 500, 700 feet up or something crazy like that. I literally would have been juice at the bottom. And I just sat there like trembling, shaking, breathing, and my primal instincts, because I've practiced this enough of trying to get lost in the woods and things like that, I knew to just sit still, secure myself, and breathe. And I sat there for that hour maybe afterwards, and it was the most alive I had ever felt.
Oh, I bet, man.
It was just like my whole life was just like, I'm tearing up right now just thinking about it, of like the whole perspective of everything popped into my life, where man, it was such a clarity moment for me, and I was riding that high for several weeks afterwards too. I did make it back down the mountain, and I got back down safe after that. But that moment stuck with me. It still sticks with me. Of life is very precious. So that's the most probably no effing way moment from like a personal standpoint that I've had. I've come not nearly that close in multiple other ways of doing stupid young testosterone filled car stunts, and I've done a lot of stupid shit in my life.
Yeah.
This was just like okay, that was probably the closest I've been, kind of thing.
Yes, man.
The other stuff is like if I'm trying to dissect what he's asking here, the no effing way moment I've ever had of externally viewing other things. There is definitely some crazy, like I've been in on surgeries, and you just wouldn't believe the human connection that you get of manipulating around spinal tissue and different things that way. But nothing compares to that moment that I just described. So I'm not even going to go there. It's
it's a good moment.
I would be stretching, and like there's lots of stuff that I've been in crazy situations, but I think I'll leave you guys with that.
I've reinvigorated my fear of heights just from listening to that stuff.
I'm afraid of heights. That's the beauty of this conversation. Is one of my things that I was trying to conquer by climbing the mountain.
Damn. And those goats, they have like 2 inches.
Oh, I mean, like, hey. I got to the point where it was only 1.5 feet, 2 feet wide. And that's when I started questioning myself, like, this really doesn't seem like a human trail.
It's like those roads in like Afghanistan where like you're driving through the mountains, and they're like, well, there's large buses and they're just going 30 miles an hour down.
I know.
in my brain, I was justifying it because of those images, but also the stupidity of the internet, right? I looked up that mountain, I looked up the trail, I read all the comments about it, how it's a scat that you got to get on your hands and knees at certain points, and the trail gets thin, and you're walking the crest to get up to the top of the mountain. So I was justifying everything that I was doing. I was just hopping up rocks, right? Like, oh, that looks good, that looks good, that looks good.
Right.
I was just like justifying it in my head and for some reason I never looked back. I get into this corner, I look back, I'm like, what in the fuck did I just do?
Yeah.
Woo.
Uh-uh.
No way. Let's do it.
I'm going
Not
home.
I'm going. And roll for going
roll
home.
3.
Damn
it, another 4.
No. 509 got so this was 509. This is one of our buddies. He's a really great deep thinker,
cool.
man. And he busted out with this like at the very beginning of the thing, and I was like, wait, we should save this towards the end. And we're all into we're very curious into the like kind of the occult kind of thing, and like we're just dabbling. It's very interesting to us, but or to me and Joe and 509, he's super into this, very very knowledgeable. But his question is, question: by law of karma, if we see the occult and
Illumidonkey
use fifth dimension tech on us, couldn't beings of light use that on us to help benefit us? I mean, it sounds freaking cool. Does that resonate with you at all?
So help me understand. I think I get he's asking a polarity opposite question.
Yeah,
right?
He's saying if they can use it on us for negativity, couldn't these beings technically use it on us for good, right?
Well, for good, but I also I guess my question would be what is the occult and Illuminadonkey? I'm assuming there are people from a different dimension coming through and using not light but maybe dark matter, something of that nature.
Well,
is that the question?
It's the idea that you have like these, like the Illuminati or Skull and Bones or like these secret societies. They have like this either ancient technology or hidden secrets that have been passed down in these groups for.
So he's talking about Inside Job. You've got to watch Inside Job.
Yeah. So using that against you in negative ways. I don't know. I guess I would take it as like we just haven't figured it out yet, but these other beings are using the same sort of technology through ritualism and stuff like that. They were actually able to figure something out.
Is if someone else can figure it out, we can figure it out too. So like, and if you can figure out something to use from a negative standpoint, by law, there has to be something positive that can come out of it.
Yeah.
Like you can't have one without the other because it is a thing. It's how you use the thing that can be considered bad or good. And so we can take the thing and reverse it back onto them, figure out how to shield it, whatever we want to talk about, like if we're talking ambiguously. But yeah, that's always a great question of like, okay, so if we have this CRISPR and we're doing all these good things, can someone take it and use it for bad? Absolutely.
Ninja Turtles
already has been done.
Watch the movies, dude.
Yeah, already has been done.
Bebop and Rocksteady,
Yep.
Prime example.
Prime example. Love that. And then Joe, did you see any good questions before? I've got one last question. And then it has to do with the Matrix.
Did you write this down as your
No, dude, I've just been thinking about it since you said the Matrix earlier. So thinking of
shoot with your Matrix question.
All right, cool. Well, I mean, this doesn't have to be the last question. I wanted to be polite. So thinking about human technology and how we're able to edit it and kind of code and predict the future with AI, where like it feels like reality is becoming so much more tangible and malleable. It almost feels like you've heard of the simulation theory, right? Like this goes back to the Matrix and all that. Like, are we more and more every day, every year that we figure out something new with this technology, defining that we are ourselves to a technology as a human race, as a conscious being in a meat suit? Or are we just kind of figuring out that there is a code to life and it doesn't have to, like, there is no difference between creation and things that already exist, I guess. So there's a better word for that, but like natural versus unnatural. Are we like blurring those lines in a way?
We always have been. That's the beauty of this conversation that I always loop back to, is that if you look at where we were, and then suddenly we started using technology to cook meat, if we want to loop that in, right? It's where does it start and where does it stop? How is it reasonable for us to say that we should go back to the Stone Age time, right? Or as we continually evolve and have these advanced technologies, where is that line going to be, that when we can replace our eyeballs and we can replace our joints and we can replace our such and such with, you know, cybernetic organism kind of things, that thought process, are we still human? And at that point, I think we are definitely going to say yes. Because at that time, we'll have the social construct to say yes. Now it seems weird because we don't have that as a reality in front of us. But just as much as the cell phone was talked about, of like how crazy and stupid it was, why would we ever want to walk around and be able to talk to someone, right? It just becomes integrated in because it made human life better. And so this is where, in a technology standpoint, I'm a believer that we will just mold and adapt our social consciousness to what's coming. And then if you want to get into that consciousness in a meat bag, which is also altered carbon. If you've watched Altered Carbon,
Yes.
yeah, get your stack replaced, right? It's a very viable thing. That what does it mean to be human? And ultimately, it is our consciousness of what our perceived reality is. Because if we don't have perceived reality, we can't think about anything. So
Like,
ultimately, being human to me is being perceived reality.
yeah. I feel like there's two levels. There's one of just life just exists and we have nothing to do with it. And there's always that layer. And then there's other layer that we just project on top of it as our experience.
Yep.
Like, both exist at the same time. It doesn't mean that one is more important or more true than the other.
Yep.
It's just like we just try to give meaning to things. That's more of the realization that I'm giving, or starting to understand more.
Well, and it goes back to, we can look at specific use cases of color blindness. What is their reality of the world? There is no color. So how do they think about their consciousness? What does it mean for them to be human? Well, it's their perceived reality of whatever they are experiencing.
I've just be real personal real quick. I'm a designer. Like, that's what my job is. And I have trouble with like reds and like purples.
Oh, yeah.
And like, it's so awkward when I'm like, hey, yeah, check this out. And the clients or the partner's like, yeah, this is fucking not the color. Why is this like bright blue? Like,
Yeah.
oh,
You've got to use your little eyedropper. You got to go back to Microsoft Paint. Come on now.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's
So,
trippy.
I've got a question, and it's kind of it kind of goes back to the occult a little bit, but it also has to do with like science, like modern science today. You know, the idea that you know, say like the Germans, right? They were so highly, you know, technologically advanced at one point. They were so far ahead of everybody. The idea that they really paid attention to like the esoteric. They studied these strange phenomena and like actually gave them thought, you know, whether or not they studied it and then they were thinking, oh, that's interesting, let's create something that kind of mimics this, and that's why their technology advanced so fast. Or they did actually come in contact with something and they were able to recreate it. Do you think like in the West we have this block to like phenomena and like, you know, the esoteric side of things, that we kind of close ourselves off and we're a little more closed-minded when it comes to science and actually being able to advance that, just because we don't want to think of that. That's not real, right? Instead of trying to, you know, unbox it a little bit and see if there's something to it, we just turn it off like it's not worth your time.
Yeah. Yeah, my opinion on this is it even loops back to the question about would I feel upset if people stopped using technology, right? We come from a place of curiosity, and that's what we've lost in our culture. It's the curiosity aspect of human nature that really drives us, and whether it was tech given to us or we were curiously exploring it as it came around us, or whatever the case may be, where I think technology moving forward and human nature moving forward, hopefully we get back to curiosity, because right now we think we know everything, and right now we don't have the community to, like, even just having this conversation the other day is very frustrating. Of we were watching some show and it was showing the old cafeteria or the coffee houses that used to exist in like Europe and things of that nature, where it was active arguments, and you were buying each other beer, you were buying each other coffee for the sake of arguing with each other over curiosity.
Yes.
And instead of at the end of it saying you're right, I'm wrong, everyone shakes hands and hugs afterwards. Like, that was a great conversation, right?
Yeah,
like
cool.
We have lost that art in our culture.
Yep.
And so we need to get back to that. And I think that this is one of the human aspects that needs to return, that curiosity component, instead of thinking that we know everything.
100%, man. I totally agree.
It hits so many levels on whatever industry you're in. I mean,
yeah,
it does.
I think a lot of our audience are really paying attention to the ufology aspect of things. And maybe there's some people in here that are more on the scientific community. And I think it hits all of it, dude. Everything, whatever you're into. I mean, it could be cup making or woodworking. There's always going to be this human aspect of this trajectory where culture and it's people. Like, the question's always going to be there, and people are always going to ask questions. It's how we approach it and communicate with each other. Like, sometimes it's just not very efficient. Like right now, it's a little turbulent, and I think we all need to like hug and be just glad that we can even have these kind of conversations.
The biggest scientists should answer questions with not certainty, but they should say, our current paradigm and understanding is such. What I would like to see is it challenged in X, Y, and Z. Yeah, dude. That's how a real doctor should talk to you, and that's how a real scientist should talk to you.
That is a true Dr. Scientist.
Dr. Scientist. UFO Garage.
So my current understanding of the situation is that you have hemorrhoids, but in the future, this could change.
Yep.
I hope so, Doc.
If I ever have the authentic app on my phone, I want the voice to be Joe's voice.
Hey, okay, well, it'll be Joe's voice, and we'll call him Larry then.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome. Yeah. Hey, drink some water.
Hey, dude.
Hey, what's up, dude? I love it.
That'll be the you'll have to pay for that feature, because that'll probably be in high demand.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Sometimes people, that's one of the things, like, me and Ben talk about this all the time. It's like, sometimes I want really smart information from like somebody who just doesn't sound that smart. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes it's just easier to listen to somebody that's a little more regular.
Yep.
Because sometimes smart people think that they're talking in very simple terms, but it's just because they're so smart, and then they'll like break it down, and then I'll say it in 4 words or less, and they're like, yeah, that's exactly what I meant. So sometimes like information is delivered better in like almost like, I wouldn't say a dumber way, but in a just like a regular person kind of way. So
I had a really good experience with that actually recently. I've always prided myself on being growing up, I could relate to everyone. I've always been the person that relates well with, doesn't matter what room you stick me in. And so when I ran my sports medicine practice, I prided myself on reducing this down in a way that the other person could understand, and I'd pick up on social cues and all of these sorts of things from an aspect of communication. But the other day I got humbled. And this was a really cool experience of, as I've been going through my startup experience and how do I relate my information to investors, And in my brain, I was like, okay, investors are a different class of people. I've got to prove that I'm smart. And I was using way too much technology. And what I ended up doing was paying for someone to help me put together a pitch deck. And it just happened to be a friend that I knew from Silicon Valley, and English was her second language. And so when we went through what I thought was simple, she's like, I don't understand this. And it was like the most humbling experience for me of like, okay, I need to go back to this of I was over explaining because I was excited about communicating to the potential smart person, when the reality is I still need it to resonate with everyone with what I'm doing for my pitch deck.
Yes,
and she helped me understand that because English was her second language. And so I was using words that were not like common. And I needed to flip the language into, okay, personal healthcare coach, right? I had to stop using the word digital empathy assistant because that's what I have a trademark and patent on. I figured, why wouldn't I use that?
Right.
And she's like, what the hell does that mean?
I don't know. It's got a ring to it for me, but
it is cool. Like, so that's part of learning communication and marketing is bring people into your world first, and then your language will resonate with them, but you still have to get them in there first. They still have to figure out why they want to resonate with you in the language that they understand. And then when they're in our community, then we can start teaching them things like digital empathy and empowerment and communication and self-awareness and proprioception and all these big words that to the general public, they don't have context of what that means.
Yes. It's kind of like our show, dude, right? We had to get people in and then start talking before they understood masturbation propulsion technology.
Exactly.
I don't want to say I'm hesitant to ask that question.
You should ask. We had this joke.
Okay, I'm going to ask that question. What is this acceleration of?
So it started out as a joke, and then we realized like, oh shit, we might be onto something. But it started out in this, I don't know what episode it was. But
like
the joke,
12.
yeah, it was very early on. We were like, what if like this unseen energy, it's not electricity, it's not consciousness, but it's like this, it's not gravity, but it's everything all in one. It's everything combined into one energy, and that we just don't know about it. And we've been this technology has been shunned by religion because they don't want us to know this. The power of the technology is not masturbation, but like Joe, help me out, dude. What's the word, dude?
Like an energy or what?
What happens when you masturbate, dude? What's the
ejaculation?
No, dude. Oh, come
boners?
On. No, what's the thing? I'm blanking.
That's another joke too.
Orgasm.
Orgasm. Yes,
dude. That is the culmination of all these energies. I know this is fucking ridiculous. I sound like an idiot, but that's where the antithesis of this whole thing came from. Is like the orgasm is like this power source that like no one knows about, and also farts are a part of that orgasm. They're like all a part of it.
Yeah, 100%.
So, like, this is
actually all behind Tantra.
Yeah, because I saw this thing and it was like, okay, like when you're masturbating, you can masturbate in a green way. You don't have to use wall energy. There's a wristband that you can plug up to your computer, and as you move your hand, it generates energy and electricity for you. And it's like, dude, you know how many people are jacking off every day? Like that's just like unused energy that nobody's tapping into, right? If you harnessed all of that energy throughout the day, you could light the entire United States for 40 years, you know?
Yep.
In one day.
It's just like hooking up your bike to the blender to make margaritas.
Yes. Margaritas. Yes. You have the same shameful feeling after you're finished with both of them. So yeah, it's exactly like making margaritas with your bike.
I hooked up this here Huffy to my Jimmy Buffett margarita machine about 12 years ago.
And if you can do both of them at the same time, then you're really a conservationist.
Yes. Oh, what are you doing? Just jacking off, drinking margaritas, man. What are you doing? You at work? You loser.
You loser, dude.
What, are you making money right now?
But
Jesus.
how funny would that be? Like in this simulation, if you will, like that's the antithesis of like free energy is like, dude, we've been doing it all wrong, just wasting all this damn energy, man.
There's lots of things that we could pull energy from. So you guys are just getting creative in your propulsion technology. Yeah.
Yeah. that was the whole thing. The faster you whack it, like the more energy you build, you can put it in a spaceship. So yeah. Assume activation positions.
Chad said it best. I love the part of the conversation where you're comfortable enough with the guest.
Yeah, just give me a little teary-eyed of.
Oh shit! Well,
dude.
that's the true test of any of our guests. If they can make it through that part, then I mean,
that's the litmus test.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
getting back for a second episode. Yes,
yes. We even told Lou Elizondo about it, and he had a fun time as well.
He did. He did not poo-poo it. Lou Elizondo, if you don't know, Dave, he's been in the news like for the past couple of years. He's like the ex-head of the ATIP program that studied UFOs at the Pentagon.
Nice.
And we think that it has something to do with like UFO crash retrieval, and like he was like an ex reconnaissance. What Joe, help me out. His old job, not intelligence, but the opposite of that, like counterintelligence. Damn, I'm just blanking tonight. Gosh. But anyway, he's a cool dude. But yeah, that's who Joe's talking about. I don't know why.
Yeah, dude. Nobody gets to escape it. It doesn't matter who you are, man. You come on.
You've got your personality stamp. That's good. I like it.
Yes, man. Dude, this has been freaking awesome.
Yes.
This has been very fun.
I loved it, man. You should come back on more often.
Yeah.
Well, we can start diving into more Rick and Morty and shows. Like we could set up a group watch of like Continuum, Altered Carbon, Rick and Morty, Matrix. Yeah, and then yep.
Oh my god.
I love it. I love it. Let's do that.
Everybody in the chat's been loving you, dude. Like, yeah, people are like best interview in a long time. So, dude, like,
we need to get like a round of people together one night and play some D&D online.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I haven't played in a really long time, and it's been something that I've been on my mind to be like, I want to give that a try again.
Yes, man. Yes. That'd be sweet.
Hell yeah.
It'd be like Joe went home.
Just roll three.
Roll 3. He rolled a 4.
He's got to stay.
I love it. All right, man.
All right, man. Well, Dave, thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Gratitude. This was a lot of fun.
Dude,
it was. I learned so much tonight.
Yeah. This is one of those episodes I'm going to have to listen back. Like, there's a lot. Yeah. But
it's a lot of fun, and we can keep the conversation going for sure.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Before we let you go, man, where can people find more about you and maybe some of the projects you're working on? If there's any links, I can add it to the description. But
yeah, the links, I have an empowerment community right now. Our app isn't fully live. We take a few select people for testing reasons right now. I guess that's really appropriate to say on your channel. But we have our alpha coming out and different things that way. But I'll send a Discord and a Slack community link. Otherwise, you can find me on LinkedIn right away to get to those links as well. But their empowerment communities are focused on challenges in each of those 6 big categories that we had talked about, and then the actual categories themselves. So it's an open conversation to teach you how to do all the things for yourself, and that's the empowerment component of it. We're not just feeding you information. We're helping you understand what works for you. So you can get in and you can get results right away in whatever way you need it. So you got back pain, you're burnt out from work, you feel like you need more sleep, like all of those sorts of things are in our community right now. And they're growing with mentors and people who are just being supportive of each other. So
that is awesome. That is awesome. I definitely want to try it.
Heck
Yeah, it's not trying it. It's you and your life. Come on now.
Oh, yeah.
When the app comes out, yes.
When the app comes out, I definitely want to use it because all the things you mentioned, I have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I want
right.
to plug it. I'm plugging in. Just
Baggers.
take my money.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
right. Seriously.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll get you guys on. And there's going to be a really cool feature that we're launching first that allows basically audio rooms to communicate together. So it's like podcasting live, but instead of people in the chat, they would actually be talking to me, and we'd have open dialect and conversation. So that's the community piece that we really wanted to have as essential core. We're bringing a whole ecosystem of things in to help people be empowered.
Love
I
that,
love it,
dude.
man. That's
Love
great. That's great. Everybody, go check out Dr. Dave and what he's got going on. I mean, it sounds pretty amazing. You're a really smart dude, and you guys loved him, so he's definitely coming back on the show again.
Hell
Awesome.
Yeah. Hey,
Well-
I'm gonna send you the Dr. Scientist T-shirt like right after this. So
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah,
Next time
I didn't
you'll
know
have
you guys had that. Awesome.
Oh yeah,
we do. Yep.
I will proudly wear that shirt.
Hell yeah, bro.
Just like when I was in college and I used to wear the shirt that says, "Trust me, I'm a doctor."
Yeah. Yes, man. Yes.
All right, brother. Well, hey, we'll talk to you soon, man. Thank you so
All
much.
right, take care. You guys have a
Have
good
a
night.
good one.
Peace, dude. All right, dude. Woo! That was fun.
That was fun, man.
Damn.
I love that.
I feel like I learned a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I was like a sim. Like I leveled up at least 2 points. Like now I'm gonna go and like talk shit to people tomorrow. I'm like, well, you don't know about this, do you? Did you
I'm
know
gonna
you can wear a t-shirt and it'll tell you everything about you?
I'm gonna like start the conversation like, look, listen, I'm smarter than you. Here's what I know, and then I won't be able to regurgitate the stuff we talked about tonight. So I might need a couple weeks.
Yes. Yes.
Listen, I would like 2 jalapeno kolaches with the sausage. Also, I'm smarter than you. Here are the things that I know. Can't tell you right now. Can't remember the words that I learned. Dr. Dave, check him out.
Yeah.
He's gonna be famous.
It was like, yeah, there's an app and it's got fungus on it. And
then I'm wearing a shirt.
You put a shirt on and trust me, it's gonna be really cool. The future's coming very soon. Don't worry about it.
Can I have $20?
Yeah, by the way, can I have some money?
Oh, dude.
Well,
Yeah.
get out of here, you homeless guy.
Get out of here.
I have a house.
Look, I realize that I'm naked in the drive-through window, but look, all I need is $20
On a bike.
cash on a bike.
With
Look,
ice creams in the front and beers in the back.
Cervezas?
Oh
shit.
man.
Yeah, dude, that was awesome, man. I can't wait to see what happens with that. I feel like yeah, we're gonna see a lot of the stuff we talked about, like the future of technology, and woo, dude, I'm excited.
I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see it, man.
Hell yeah, dude.
That was a good time, dude. Thank you everybody for coming and checking us out. Hey, if y'all are interested in helping out the community, you can go to UFOGaragePodcast.com. Anytime you buy a t-shirt or a sticker or you send a super chat, we're going to be donating every quarter. We're going to be taking 20% of that total, and we're going to be donating it to somebody who needs some help or somebody who just deserves it or we think is awesome. We're not as smart as Dr. Dave, so there's not a lot we can do, but you know what? We can help fund certain things that people are working on by pulling all of our money together. I mean, I'm sure you guys feel the same way sometimes. It's like, man, I wish I really knew whatever, right? But
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough to figure that out. Why can't I just pay something? Well, now you can. Now you can buy a t-shirt and 20% of that is going to go to help something, We don't always know what it's going to be, but we'll come up with it. The first one, though, is going to be Anomaly Archives. Actually, Smiles is going to be on the show March 10th, and he's going to be on and telling us all about Anomaly Archives. That place is a golden nugget that we didn't even know existed. And that guy has got so much information. I mean, we're talking books from like the 1600s. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a book from the 1600s.
Made
but it
with
looks
animal
crazy.
Skin. Like
Yeah.
the cover it disintegrated when we looked at it. Like it was so old, dude.
It's
Remember we were in that
insane.
like library, we were like, hey, we shouldn't touch this, right? And it just
yeah.
just
Yeah. Like this book Well, the cover is actually skin from a human being. You're like, what the hell? So yeah, it's kind of crazy, but there's so much cool stuff in there. Right now, they're looking for a new home. During COVID and all that stuff, you know, they lost their spot. The rent got jacked up. So they're looking for a new home right now, and that's what we want to do. We want to help them find a new home. So that's going to be exciting. We want to make sure you guys don't miss it. So this first little quarter that we're going to be donating to is to those guys. So go check it out. Help them out.
Hell yeah, dude. That's what's up. Okay, well, that's all I got, dude. Big Willie does not have a show tomorrow. We will miss him. He's doing so much right now, bro.
Yeah, he is. He's doing a lot.
He is doing Spaced Out Radio. We love Spaced Out Radio. Everybody check them out. Big Willie's got a show on them, and Dave's got his show every Monday through Friday. So yeah, but Big Willie, he's a busy guy. He's a popular guy too.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. And hopefully, stay tuned because next week's gonna be awesome. We got another great guest coming up.
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Got a pretty big guest that we think will come on.
Hopefully, he shows up. Right?
He declared we're gonna do tacos and beer, and maybe not shirtless.
It may not be shirtless, but definitely tacos and beer. We'll still be here.
You know this person. You've heard of him. He'll be back on round two.
That's right.
On Tuesday.
That's gonna be awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be dope, dude. Yeah.
Oh man. We should still show up with no shirts on.
Honestly, we can. We could.
It is Topless Tuesday.
We just slowly.
Oh my god!
It's not Jim Goodall, Michael. No, it's not Richie Dolan. We are still waiting to hear back from Richie's people. But good guess. That would be if Richie Dolan came on our show, we would.
Dude, yeah. You know, we need to get people so that way they can talk to their people. You know, it seems like things move faster that way.
Yeah. If anybody is willing to donate their time, we both have full-time jobs. I know everybody else here does too. But if anybody is good at like reaching out to people and like marketing, I don't know, like booking stuff, like that would be awesome to have somebody to help. So if anybody's interested, let us know.
Let me know. It doesn't mean we're going to pick you.
Don't let Joe know because he doesn't know how to work email. So hey at UFOgarage.com.
Hey at UFOgarage.com.
But yeah, no, secret guest Tuesday. You know him, you love him. We'll see. He may show up, he may not, but we'll see what happens.
He won't forget, dude.
I hope not.
If anything, he'll be the most excited he's been in a while.
Yeah.
And he won't forget.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. All right, man.
All right, bro. Great show.
That's it for me. You know?
That's it for me, dog.
Yes. This has been another episode of UFO Garage. We'll talk to y'all next time, man. Tuesday. Topless Tuesday. You get to see the nips.
Tuesday.
Again. Funky. Yeah.
Oh, almost passed out.
You can't hold your breath, dude.
I know. Okay.
Don't hold your breath while you're dancing.
Peace, y'all.